Chapter 1977. Ah, looks like Su Shirhan really wanted to help them. Now I don't even have the slightest bit of confidence. This is so annoying. Zhang Duopan said. Book C Pavilion, net. There's nothing we can do about it. Sister Han is a big shot. It's good enough that we got second prize. Chung Yi didn't care. Lin Yi didn't care about Zhang Duopan's speed at all. He didn't even chase after him. Instead, he drove at a constant speed on the airport highway. Under normal circumstances, Lin Yi wouldn't break the rules if it wasn't something important. Thank you for coming to our classes program despite your busy schedule, Lin Yi said to Su Shirhan. Now, I know that your appearance fee isn't low. Chung Yi has connections and she asked for 200,000. You're asking for more than her, right? That's right. Normally, I wouldn't go even if they paid me 1 or 2 million, Su Shirhan said. I'm here because of you. It seems like my face is quite big. Lin Yi said. That's right. Do you think I'd go if someone asked me? Not to mention not paying, I wouldn't go even if they paid. Su Shirhan said. Ha. Lin Yi smiled, but his face suddenly changed. The smile on his face turned serious as he said to Shirhan, Danger! Don't move. Ah, Su Shirhan was startled. She didn't know what Lin Yi was talking about. But at the same time, 2 black Audi A6 dashed through the iron fence in the middle of the road. The iron fence was not far from Lin Yi's car, and the 2 A6 quickly stopped in front of Lin Yi's car. This sudden change made Su Shirhan scream. Lin Yi seemed to be very calm and stopped the car. Behind Lin Yi, 2 Audi A6 drove over, sandwiching Lin Yi's car in the middle. Lin Yi couldn't move forward or backward. The reason why Lin Yi knew there was danger was because of the warning signal from the Jade. So Lin Yi knew in advance that danger was coming. Don't move in the car. Lin Yi looked at one of the 2 Audi A6 and frowned. The other 3 cars didn't matter to him, but the person in this car surprised Lin Yi, a mystic late phase peak. Although to Lin Yi, this was nothing. He was already an Earth class master. Mystic class masters were like ants in his eyes. It was easy to stomp them to death. But this wasn't so simple. Who was the one who sent this mystic class late phase peak? Lin Yi didn't think that it was sent by his enemies. Unless they were stupid, they wouldn't send a mystic late phase peak master to die. Last time, there were 3 Earth class masters, and one of them was a late phase Earth class master, but Lin Yi burned them to ashes. Would they dare to send a mystic? That wasn't realistic. Book C Pavilion, net. But if it wasn't sent by them, then who sent it? Could it be a robbery? But robbery? He hadn't heard of a robbery on the highway at the airport. And Lin Yi's car was very low-key. It was a Grand Cherokee. It didn't blink. Lin Yi clearly saw a Rolls-Royce drive by, but he didn't see them rob it. And if it was just a simple robbery, wouldn't it be too wasteful to send a mystic late phase peak master? But all these guesses were pointless. After Lin Yi told Su Shirhan, he got out of the car. The mystic late phase peak master didn't move. Instead, 3 men in black suits got out of the other 3 cars. They pointed their guns at Lin Yi. Kid, tell the people in the car to get out. Otherwise, don't blame us for shooting you. People in the car? Lin Yi was startled. Were these people trying to kidnap Su Shirhan? It didn't seem like they were targeting him. Otherwise, no matter how powerful an enemy was, they wouldn't send 3 normal people with guns to aim at an Earth class master. Unless they were crazy. Shut up and do it. A man in black scolded. You're here for Su Shirhan? Who sent you? Tell me, and I won't kill you. Lin Yi looked at the man in black and said indifferently, Ha, kid, you want to kill us? The man in black thought that he had misheard and immediately laughed loudly. You mean, you can kill us? Is that so? Yes, since you missed the chance, there's no need to say any more. Lin Yi's hand shook, and a silver needle shot out, sinking into the man's chest. The man didn't even make a sound before falling to the ground. Lin didn't even need to use pure chi to kill the man in black, because he was just a normal person. At most, he was a cultivator who had just stepped into the door of martial arts. He wasn't even a golden class master. The other two people sucked in a breath of cold air. They didn't think that this person would do it without any hesitation. The scariest thing was that they didn't see it clearly. They didn't know how Lin killed the man in black. "Hisyu, who are you?" One of the two men in black asked. "It's your turn." "Who sent you?" Lin asked. "Who are you? Why are you here?" The man in black asked nervously. "You've also lost your value." Lin shook his wrist, and the second man in black fell to the ground. You. The third man in black was stunned. He still did not know how his two companions died, so he subconsciously stuttered a little. After saying the word "you" a few times, he hurriedly looked at the Audi A6 beside him and said, "Brother Sanlei, there's something wrong. Please save me quickly." Actually, there was no need for the third man to speak. The man in black in the Audi A6 couldn't sit still anymore. He opened the door and got out of the car. It was a man wearing a black mask. The three people before didn't have their faces covered. Only a pair of cold eyes could be seen. He looked at Lin coldly and said condescendingly, "It seems that he values Miss Sue quite a bit. He also sent a driver here. But your strength isn't enough. Although you have flying needles, you haven't cultivated pure chi yet. You can't use the natural chi around you. It seems that you're not a cultivator." "Who sent you here?" "My patience is limited," Lin said indifferently. Although Lin wasn't afraid of trouble, it was obvious that this was the airport highway. There were a lot of cars coming and going. Lin was afraid that Su Shirhan's identity would be exposed. So Lin wanted to end this quickly. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1978. This palm was very casual. In his eyes, this palm could easily kill Lin But he didn't expect that Lin also pushed out a palm, as if he wanted to take this attack head-on. Moreover, Lin Yi's expression was like a smile that wasn't a smile, as if he wasn't afraid of this palm at all. Although the man in black was a bit confused, he didn't think too much about it. He naturally knew that this was a main road. Although he was from an ancient noble house and wasn't afraid of ordinary people, some things couldn't be overdone. After all, there was an ancient agreement. Bang! The two palms collided, and a muffled sound was heard. This sound made the black-clothed man relax because he couldn't feel much power from Lin at all. It seemed that Lin was just a normal person. He had thought too much. However, in the next moment, the black-clothed man was stunned, because from Lin Yi's palm, a huge wave of chi suddenly came, instantly entering his meridians. In an instant, he felt as if a wave of chi that could topple mountains and overturn the seas surged over, breaking all the meridians in the black-clothed man's body. You're an early-stage Earth class. The man in black widened his eyes in disbelief. He didn't think that there would be an Earth class besides Su Shirhan. Could it be that Feng Tianlin really valued Su Shirhan that much? Thinking up to here, Feng Sanlei suddenly felt a little sad. He was the subordinate of Feng Tianlin's wife. The reason he came here was to secretly kill Su Shirhan. This time, he got the news from the third son of Feng family, Feng Tianhu. He thought that without Feng Sanhuang, Feng Sanlei could easily kill Su Shirhan, but Feng Sanlei smiled bitterly in his heart. He wanted to spread the news that there was a master besides Su Shirhan, but he knew that it was just wishful thinking. In front of an Earth-class master, running away was just wishful thinking. Plus, if he was caught by Lin and if he were to be interrogated, then the situation would be unbearable. Thinking up to here, Feng Sanlei suddenly had a sudden burst of energy. He used all the strength in his body and slapped towards the remaining man in black, easily killing him. Then he waved his hand and slapped towards his own face. Bang! The masked man's head was smashed by himself. His brain was broken beyond recognition, and his entire head had exploded. It was very disgusting. Lin Yi was secretly on guard. He was afraid that he would harm Su Shirhan at the last moment, but he didn't think that this guy would kill his own people and then commit suicide. This kind of strange situation caught Lin Yi off guard. Originally, Lin Yi didn't kill him. Instead, he injured him to bring him back and interrogate him. He wanted to know who sent this guy. But this masked man was very decisive. He killed the only survivor of his own group and then committed suicide. It was a very cruel way to commit suicide. Looking at the mask of the masked man, and then looking at his broken head, Lin Yi vaguely guessed his purpose. He masked his face, which meant that he didn't want anyone to see or recognize him. He committed suicide in this way to destroy his own head, so that no one would be able to recognize him. This person was very loyal. As for the other small fries who weren't practitioners, they probably weren't important people. He wouldn't be able to find anything from their faces. Thinking of this, Lin Yi couldn't help but sigh. It seemed that he was a bit careless. He only thought about Su Shirhan's safety. He didn't think that the masked man would commit suicide. But it was already like this. Lin Yi couldn't do anything. Although it happened very fast, almost 2 to 3 minutes, Lin Yi saw the cars coming from behind and behind. He didn't dare to delay anymore. He ran to the 2 Audi A6 in front of the car and slapped them to the side of the road. Then he quickly jumped into the Grand Cherokee and stepped on the accelerator. Su Shirhan's face was very pale. Although she was in the car, she heard everything that happened outside. She also knew that these 4 people came for her. But who sent these 4 people? What was their purpose? Although Su Shirhan had experienced similar kidnappings before, it wasn't as thrilling as this. The criminals' plans were all killed in the cradle by the police, and the people she faced weren't as vicious as this. In the end, they chose to commit suicide in such a cruel way. You're not scared, right? Lin Yi, on the other hand, had been through too many dangerous situations. What happened just now wasn't dangerous at all in his eyes. He'd even been stopped by the blood-clothed Yellow Spring sect before, and he'd even been beaten by 3 Earth Class Book C Pavilion. Book C Pavilion equals therefore. What happened just now seemed too ordinary. It's okay. Su Shirhan patted her chest. Her chest rose and fell, but it betrayed her true thoughts. She was indeed very nervous. Who did you offend recently? Lin Yi asked. These people are obviously coming for you. I offended anyone. I don't think so. Su Shirhan shook her head. If you want to talk about a sinner, it would be Dr. Kang's medical company. Last time, I attended your product launch. Other than that, I didn't offend anyone. Kang family, impossible. Lin Yi denied this possibility. If they want to find someone, they should be looking for me. Plus, they wouldn't send such a weak person. Then I really can't think of who I offended. Su Shirhan seriously thought about it. Forget it. Don't think about it. Give me that Feng Sanhuang's number. Lin Yi said, Feng Sanhuang? Why do you want his number? Su Shirhan was dazed. He's your driver. He follows you everywhere you go. I'll ask him to help me think. Lin Yi didn't say much to Su Shirhan. Intuition told Lin Yi that Feng Sanhuang should be the person protecting Su Shirhan. The masked man also said that he didn't think that there would be someone protecting Su Shirhan here. In other words, Su Shirhan also had someone protecting her over there. The only possibility was Feng Sanhuang. So, Lin Yi planned to tell this to Feng Sanhuang. He wanted him to investigate and see if Su Shirhan had offended anyone. Oh, okay. Su Shirhan didn't think much about it. She nodded and told Lin Yi Feng Sanhuang's number. Lin Yi wrote down the number. He didn't call in front of Su Shirhan. Instead, he called Yang Huaijuan. Captain Eagle, are you looking for me? Huaijuan picked up the phone. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1979. Yup, Junzi, just now on the airport highway. 4 Audi cars intercepted me. 2 of them were killed by me, and the other 2 committed suicide. Bring some men to control these corpses first. I'm afraid they'll destroy the evidence. Lin said worriedly. Since the masked man could commit suicide in such a way, Lin was afraid that there would be people coming to take the bodies away. What? Someone blocked you? Huai Juan paused. What's going on? Which force is it? Noble House, or if it's someone from Noble House, it's best to let the investigation department do it. I don't know yet, but they're mystic late phase peak. Lin said. Then I'll tell Captain Feng Tianlong. There's a practitioner. They should be the ones to deal with it, Huai Juan said. All right, Lin nodded. Shirhan, on the other hand, was confused. She didn't know what a mystic late phase peak was. What was a practitioner? She'd never come into contact with these things before. She'd heard Meng Yao and Yushu talking about Xiao Xiao before, and Tang Yun. Shirhan sighed as she thought of this girl. He drove Shirhan to the hotel, and no one blocked them on the way. It seemed like there were only 4 cars blocking them, but Lin didn't let his guard down. He parked the car below the hotel, preparing to send Shirhan up personally. He was the one who invited Shirhan, so Lin had the responsibility to protect her. Whether or not these people came for Shirhan, Lin had to protect her. If something happened, even Lin wouldn't be able to forgive himself. Right? How are you so strong? Shirhan was still in a state of fear, and now that she calmed down, she finally remembered. How was Lin so strong? Not only did he kill 2 of them silently, but the other 2 were killed by his accomplice, and the other one committed suicide. It's all right, Lin said faintly. When we get to the room, it's best not to mention these things. And don't worry, your classmate is here. I won't say anything. Su Shirhan nodded. Lin wanted to tell Cheng-Yi not to talk about it, but after thinking about it, he didn't say anything. After all, she was Su Shirhan's junior apprentice sister. It was their own business. The 2 walked into the hotel lobby. Su Shirhan took out her phone and called Cheng-Yi. Senior sister, have you arrived? Cheng-Yi was surprised to hear Su Shirhan's voice. The radio just said there was a series of car accidents on the highway. Didn't you guys get stuck in traffic? We didn't. Su Shirhan hesitated, but didn't say anything. After all, Zhang Duopan was Lin Yi's classmate. That's good. You scared me to death. I was still scared at the time. How good would it be if you took our car? Su Shirhan said. Haha, it's fine. Shirhan smiled. Which room are you in? I'll go up now. I'm in room 1108. You guys can take the elevator up, Cheng-Yi said. Lin and Su Shirhan got in the elevator and went all the way to Cheng-Yi's room. What surprised Lin was that Zhang Duopan wasn't in room 1108. Instead, he got a room in room 1105. Obviously, Cheng-Yi didn't want him in her room. If she wanted to talk, she would go to his room 1105. But Zhang Duopan was rich, so he didn't mind. You go in, I won't go. I'll wait for you outside. Lin saw this and didn't follow. Okay. Su Shirhan also knew Cheng-Yi's temper. Her room was usually only used by a few close sisters in the company and her manager. There was no one else. Lin glanced at Zhang Duopan in the opposite room. The kid was on the phone. He didn't care about him. He turned and walked to the safe passage at the end of the corridor and called Feng Sanhuang. Hello, who are you looking for? Feng Sanhuang looked at the unfamiliar number and asked politely, Feng Sanhuang? Lin asked, It's me. You are... Feng Sanhuang was secretly on guard. This person knew his name, but he still didn't know his identity. This person was definitely someone he wasn't familiar with, and it was impossible that Feng Sanhuang didn't have the phone number of someone he was familiar with, and it was impossible that he couldn't recognize his voice. Su Shirhan's bodyguard. Lin continued to ask, Who are you? Feng Sanhuang was even more shocked. No one knew that he was Su Shirhan's bodyguard. Even Su Shirhan herself didn't know about it. So when Lin revealed his identity, He panicked a little. It seems like my guess was right. Lin said, I'm Lin E. Earlier at the airport, there was a mystic class late phase peak who attacked us. I crippled him. I wanted to bring him back for interrogation, but he committed suicide. The way he did it was very disgusting. As he spoke, Lin told Fong Sanhuang what happened. Fong Sanhuang was relieved when he heard that it was Lin E. Lin E saw through his strength and knew that he was Su Shirhan's bodyguard. But what shocked him was that there was someone who intercepted Su Shirhan. And in this period of time, Lin E seemed to have gotten even stronger. He could easily cripple a mystic class late phase peak. The last time he saw him, he was weaker than him. He wasn't even at the peak of mystic class late phase peak. But now, I didn't expect this. Brother Lin, thank you so much. Fong Sanhuang said gratefully, my flight tonight is to Donghai City. Please take care of Miss Su's safety. Please. When Fong Sanhuang knew that Su Shirhan was coming to East Ocean City on his own, he booked a plane ticket with her. However, he was still one flight behind Su Shirhan. Su Shirhan's flight was at noon, and he was going to take the night flight. He didn't expect that something would happen in such a short time. He was sent by Fong Tianlin to protect Su Shirhan. If Su book Ocean Pavilion soonest update Yef equals if something happened to Shirhan, even if Fong Sanhuang died, he wouldn't be able to escape the blame. So he called Lin E. Brother Lin. Of course, this was also because of Lin Yi's increase in strength. To be able to cripple a mystic class late phase peak meant that Lin E was at least at the peak of mystic class late phase peak. You're coming too? That's great. You can go investigate these people's background. Lin said, as for Su Shirhan's safety, you don't need to worry. With me by her side, nothing will happen. All right. Thanks for the trouble. Fong Sanhuang said respectfully again. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1980. Then I'll hang up first. Book C. Pavilion Lin listened to Fong Sanhuang's pleading tone. He had no doubt that he was the one protecting Su Shirhan in the dark, but which force did he belong to? Why was he protecting Su Shirhan? What was Su Shirhan's identity? Of course, this had nothing to do with Lin E, and Lin E didn't want to know at the moment. He and Su Shirhan could only be considered as good friends at the moment. It wasn't convenient for him to ask. Not long after Lin E hung up, Su Shirhan also came out. She came out with Chung E. Lin E, let's go to school to rehearse. Don't waste time. E is going to. Su Shirhan waved to Lin E. Okay. Lin E walked over quickly. Zhang Duopan also came out of his room at this time. He didn't expect to see Fan Ganha in his room. He just came. Lin E didn't see him before. Zhang Duopan was a bit annoyed when he saw Lin E, but Fan Ganha was even more annoyed. He liked Wang Xinyan. Naturally, he wouldn't give Lin E any face. From Fan Ganha's point of view, Lin E was the typical type of bastard who stood in the toilet but didn't shit. He always said that he had nothing to do with Wang Xinyan, but when they went out, they were still very close. Isn't this Lin E? Why didn't you bring Wang Xinyan? Could it be that you want to be alone with the superstar and don't want anyone else? Fan Ganha saw Lin E and wanted to say something sarcastic. Oh, Lin E responded. He didn't even look at him. *CK. Fan Ganha was infuriated. This was blatant disregard. Quarrel with people. He wasn't afraid of people scolding him back. He was afraid that people wouldn't even care about him, and his efforts would be in vain. He wanted to say something, but Lin E and Su Shirhan were already walking towards the elevator. Fan Ganha gritted his teeth, but it was useless. Whatever. Ganha, there will be plenty of opportunities to deal with this kid. I plan to invite Himei Wei and her roommates to Tiger Park this weekend. We'll think of a way to humiliate them. Zhang Duopan sneered. He had no chance of winning at the freshman party, but he didn't plan to give up on Himei Wei, so he had to proceed to the next step. Okay, listen to Brother Zhang. When the time comes, think of a way to teach them a lesson. Fan Ganha nodded. In the teaching building of the biology department, in the classroom of the medicine department, the students were rehearsing the actions in the music video in full swing, and he walked in with Su Shirhan, 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 Shirhan Su, Shirhan, Zhou, 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 Shan. Up. Shirhan, seeing how serious everyone was, Su Shirhan was a little surprised. She originally thought that it would be very difficult to bring a group of non-professional students to recreate the scene of the music video, but now it seemed that a lot of people were already doing it well. Ha! Bai Weitua also felt someone coming, but he didn't pay attention. He raised his head and saw a fully armed girl next to Lin Yi. Su Shirhan? He paused for a moment, but immediately guessed what was going on. Hello, everyone. Shirhan smiled and waved at Bai Weitua when she saw that someone recognized her. Hearing this heavenly voice, all the boys who were rehearsing stopped what they were doing. When they saw the person at the door, they couldn't help but widen their eyes. Someone cheered, Su Shirhan. Su Shirhan is here. Ah, Su Shirhan is here. It's really Su Shirhan. Su Shirhan, I love you so much, Lin Yi sweated. He quickly locked the classroom door. If the other students found out, they wouldn't need to rehearse anymore. They'd all come to see the celebrity. Everyone quiet down. You guys are so loud. The students from the other classes would probably hear it. At that time, Feng Qiu at that time, I'm afraid we won't be able to rehearse anymore. Shirhan smiled and made a shushing gesture. Needless to say, the power of a celebrity was not just for show. Just one gesture, and the noisy classroom quieted down. Su Shirhan, hello, I'm the class leader of the medical course, Bai Weitua. I'm also Brother Lin's follower. Bai Weitua ran in front of Shirhan and introduced himself. Hello. Since you're the class leader, tell me, how's your rehearsal going? In order to save time, I'll see your progress first, and then decide on the next step. Okay? Shirhan heard that Bai Weitua was Lin Yi's follower, so her attitude towards him was very gentle, which made Bai Weitua feel very flattered. Shirhan didn't have the air of a celebrity at all. This surprised all the students. They didn't expect Lin Yi to be so powerful. Not only did he invite Shirhan, but she was also very polite and kind. Even Right Coiling Tiger was very jealous. He cursed in his heart. What kind of ability did this Lin Yi have to make Shirhan look at him in a different light? Okay, I'll tell you now. Bai Weitua quickly nodded. Lin Yi didn't listen to Bai Weitua's introduction anymore. He went back to his seat. The rehearsal had nothing to do with him anymore. Lin Yi didn't care. You don't follow celebrities? Lin Yi looked at Wang Xinyan in surprise. He realized that every time he saw her, she was always so quiet. Quiet like a pool of water, without any emotion. From the moment Lin Yi entered the classroom, Wang Xinyan had been flipping through the textbook in front of her. When Lin Yi sat down, she only raised her head and smiled at Lin Yi. Then she continued reading. I like her songs. Most of the songs in my MP3 are her songs, but Idol's Dash, Xinyan shook her head, a little regretful. But I don't have that much time to waste. I want to enjoy my university life as much as I can with the limited time I have. Limited time? Lin Yi was startled. He remembered the engagement between her and Zhao Long. He opened his mouth to say something, but closed it again. What identity should he use to make Wang Xinyan reject the engagement with House Kong? There are some things that you can't fight against. When you can't fight against it, you can only accept your fate. Wang Xinyan's expression seemed calm, but Lin Yi knew that not many people would be calm in this kind of situation. But Lin Yi didn't know what to say. He could only take it one step at a time. If he could destroy House Kong as soon as possible, Wang Xinyan would be able to relax a lot. What surprised Lin Yi was that Han Jingjing was also lying on the table, studying something. She was writing and drawing on the notebook in front of her. There were a lot of numbers and formulas. It made Lin Yi dizzy. To be continued. If you like this work, I welcome you to come to Starting Point and vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1981. This girl can't be an alien, right? How can her thoughts be so weird? Lin Yi shook his head and didn't bother with her. Lin Yi was afraid that if he asked a random question, it would attract more questions. Wouldn't that be asking for trouble? Zhang Duopan was from the economics department. At this moment, his class was also busy rehearsing. But Zhang Duopan wasn't in a good mood. In comparison, his classmates were quite happy. Although they couldn't perform with a top star like Su Shirhan, Cheng Yi was still a rising star. Even if they couldn't get first place, getting second place was already quite an honor. Many classes wanted to get into the top 10, but couldn't, because they didn't have a bet with Zhang Duopan. They were more relaxed. On the other hand, Zhang Duopan was depressed. He originally wanted to play a supporting role, but he didn't want it anymore. Going up was equivalent to embarrassing himself. It was better to be an inconspicuous cameo. Fan Ganha didn't participate in his class's program. He was Zhang Duopan's follower, so naturally he would follow Zhang Duopan. Zhang bro, how about tonight I find a gunny sack and put it on by Wei Duo's head? We'll beat him until he can't take care of himself. That way he won't go on stage and the program won't be his anymore. Doesn't that mean we'll win? Fan Ganha suggested. What do you mean by can't take care of himself? Are you stupid? If he gets beaten up, the first suspects will be us. When the school investigates, we won't be able to escape punishment. We have to think before we do things. Zhang Duopan wasn't stupid. He directly rejected Fan Ganha's suggestion. Bai Weitua is a freshman. He just came to the school. If there's a conflict, it's with us. Do you think everyone else is stupid? Fan Ganha really couldn't think of any other way to win the competition. Don't think about the competition. A loss is a loss. Zhang Duopan had already accepted it and didn't want to think about it anymore. An afternoon of rehearsal passed just like that. And at night, Cheng Yi asked Su Shirhan to go shopping. It was the first time for both of them to come to East Ocean City, and they hadn't shopped in East Ocean City yet. Su Shirhan didn't want to go. After all, something terrible had just happened. However, she didn't want to tell Cheng Yi, so she hesitated and decided to ask Lin Yi. When Lin Yi received Su Shirhan's call, he had just sent Han Jingjing and Han Xiaoqiao back and entered the villa with Miss and Shu. Miss Su, what's the matter? Lin Yi saw that it was Su Shirhan's call and picked it up. How many times have I told you, call me Xiaohan or Su Shirhan? Isn't calling me Miss Su too distant? Su Shirhan didn't like the way Lin Yi addressed her. Okay, Xiaohan, Lin Yi said. Cheng Yi wants to go shopping with me, but that thing happened on the highway. I'm a bit worried. Su Shirhan said, I don't really want to go, but I don't want her to be a wet blanket. Oh, then I'll go with you guys. Wait for 10 minutes. Feng Sanhuang will be here. He'll rent a business car, and we'll go together, Lin Yi said. Feng brother is coming too? Su Shirhan was startled. She didn't know why Lin Yi called Feng Sanhuang, but Lin Yi took Feng Sanhuang's phone number before, so it must be Lin Yi who called Feng Sanhuang. And we'll go together later. Lin Yi couldn't reject Su Shirhan's request. After all, he was the one who invited Su Shirhan. Not only was he the host, but he also didn't spend a single cent of his appearance fee, so it was a bit unreasonable if he didn't act as a temporary bodyguard. And, okay, we'll wait for you at the hotel, Su Shirhan said. Go shopping? Go shopping? I want to go too. Yushu eavesdropped on Lin Yi's phone call. Is it with Xiaohan, sis? Can we go? The miss was also a bit tempted. Forget it this time. Let's talk about it next time. I'll go with you guys alone. It was the first time Lin Yi rejected the Miss and Shu's request. He briefly told them about what happened on the highway earlier in the afternoon. Ah, that's scary? Meng Yao and Yushu's faces changed. So I'm afraid that there will be danger at night. If you guys go, I'm afraid that I won't be able to protect you. Lin Yi said, these people are obviously coming for Su Shirhan, and then we won't go. Lin Yi, be careful. Meng Yao naturally wouldn't pester him anymore. Xiao Han Sis is your guest. Don't let her get hurt. Ancient house Feng. A middle-aged woman with a gloomy face sat in front of Feng Tianhu. Although this woman was old, she was still attractive. There was an indescribable noble aura around her. Her identity was obviously not ordinary, but her face was very ugly at the moment. Tianhu, Sanlei is dead. You know, he is the most powerful master in my hands. The strength I have is limited. Your second brother is always on guard against me. I have no way to control the other masters, but the only master is actually dead. The middle-aged woman said bitterly, this second sister-in-law, that little girl has a master in Donghai City. I really didn't expect this. Feng Tianhu smiled bitterly. Humph, what do we do now? If your second brother comes after me, what should I do? The middle-aged woman obviously didn't have much of an idea. She was the kind of person who was impulsive and reckless. This didn't match her noble appearance at all. And now San Huang has gone to Donghai City. In reality, she didn't have any ulterior motives. She was a rich young mistress. Marrying into House Feng was just a marriage alliance. Ha! Actually, you don't have to worry. Once Su Shirhan is dead, there will be no evidence. I think second brother won't pursue it anymore. Feng Tianhu said faintly, oh, so you already have a backup plan? The middle-aged woman asked. That's right. I've already sent Feng Erbiang. Even if San Huang goes, it'll be a waste. It'll only take a few minutes to kill him, Feng Tianhu said, indifferently. Feng Erbiang? Earth class mid-phase? You can use a second-generation disciple of House Feng? The middle-aged woman widened her eyes in disbelief. Ha! Who doesn't have a trump card? Not only me, second brother probably has one too. Feng Tianhu sighed. If it wasn't to help you this time, I wouldn't want to reveal my trump card so early. You have to keep it a secret for me. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1982. That's not a problem. The middle-aged woman didn't even think about it. In her eyes, fighting in the family wasn't important. Killing Feng Tianlin's mistress and little bastard was the most important thing. One had to say that Feng Tianlin's failure was marrying such a brainless and unruly woman. Although he had the support of her family, she didn't help him wholeheartedly and kept creating trouble for him. For someone like Feng Tianlin, who was the heir of an ancient house who didn't have multiple wives and concubines. But his first love's flesh and blood had to be sneaky, and he couldn't even see her. This made Feng Tianlin very frustrated. He was a little envious of his big brother's choice back then. He didn't care about anything, and just ran away from the marriage and married a woman from the common world, cutting off all ties with the ancient house Feng. He, on the other hand, didn't want to disappoint his father, and for his big brother's safety, he married this woman who was supposed to be his big brother's fiancée. What Feng Tianlin didn't expect was that this woman was really unruly, willful, and jealous. He didn't know where she got the news that he had a mistress and a daughter outside, but she actually brought people to kill him. His wife was nowhere to be found, and his daughter was only found many years later after much effort. Feng Tianlin hated his wife to the core. Although she was his wife, he didn't have any feelings for her. He still loved his first love, Su Shirhan's mother. Feng Tianlin knew that his wife had gone to kill him, but he didn't do anything. Instead, he chose to endure it because he knew that this was most likely caused by his third brother, Feng Tianhu. Feng Tianhu had always coveted the position of the young master. Otherwise, it would be impossible for such detailed information to be known by only a few close brothers. However, as Feng Tianhu's son, Feng Nitian, gradually revealed his talent, the old man placed more and more importance on Feng Tianhu. Feng Tianhu's power in House Feng was also growing, and this made Feng Tianlin even more cautious. He could only continue to endure until the day he truly controlled House Feng. At that time, he wouldn't be afraid of anyone anymore. Considering the many years of marriage and the face of their son, Feng Tianlin wouldn't do anything to his wife, but he definitely wouldn't force a smile to serve her every day like now. The first thing Feng Tianlin had to do after he became the head of the family was to bring his daughter back and announce to the public that she was his daughter. Moreover, he would find his older brother and bring him back to the Feng family. Although his older brother had been kicked out of the family by his father, a new ruler brought his own ministers. His father was the head of the family, and now Feng Tianlin, was the head of the family. Feng Tianlin's relationship with his older brother was the best. Although they didn't share the same mother, they were closer than real brothers. This was also one of the important reasons why Feng Tianlin married his current wife in place of his older brother. If he didn't marry her, his father would blame his eldest brother even more and might even kill him. And this was what Feng Tianhu hoped for. He hoped that this marriage would be broken and that his father would kill his older brother while his second brother would plead for mercy. This way, both of them would lose trust and both of them would be finished. His third brother would naturally take over. So, for his older brother, in order to prevent his third brother's plan from succeeding, Feng Tianlin gritted his teeth and persevered for so many years. However, Feng Tianhu, because of his son, Feng Nitian, seemed to be on the same level as him. This made Feng Tianlin's life more and more difficult. But not long ago, Feng Tianlin received a great news. Feng Tianhu's son, Feng Tianhu, was acting tough during the Ice Palace's test. He used his title of strongest below-Earth class and was beaten into a cripple by an even stronger, strongest below-Earth class. Feng Tianlin knew that his chance had come again. Although to House Feng, Feng Nitian's death wasn't a good thing. To Feng Tianlin, it was a good thing. However, Feng Tianlin didn't know that his wife was working with Feng Tianhu to deal with Su Shihan. So, when Feng Tianlin received Feng Sanwang's call, he was shocked. What did you say? Someone was on the airport highway trying to deal with Shihan? Feng Tianlin panicked. Yes, master, but Miss Su's friend took care of it. It's a mystic late phase peak master. San Huang told Feng Tianlin everything that had happened. What? Mystic late phase peak? Feng Tianlin was even more shocked. This was the first time that Su Shihan was attacked by such a powerful cultivator. Although there were kidnappings and robberies in the past, those were only done by some small gangs. This time, it was obviously not that simple. Plus, these men in black chose to commit suicide in such a cruel way after they failed. They obviously didn't want to expose their identity. Who sent them? Could it be his wife or his third brother? Thinking of this, Feng Tianlin's heart skipped a beat. Su Shihan's identity was a secret. Although he found Su Shihan, he never acknowledged her. How did his wife and brother know about it? Do you know who did it? Feng Tianlin asked. I'm not sure yet. I just arrived at Donghai City. I heard that the bodies were taken away by the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. I need to find someone I know. I don't know if they can see it. Feng Sanhuang said. Although the ancient noble houses had absolute power, the Supernatural Investigation Bureau might not give them face. It was a complicated organization. If there's no other way, forget it. Feng Tianlin wanted to say something, but shook his head. In this situation, he couldn't contact that person before he had a firm foothold. If he did, it would be against the family rules. Feng Tianhu would be looking for trouble. Okay, master, I'll try my best. Feng Sanhuang said. When Lin Yi arrived at the hotel, Feng Sanhuang was there as well. He was driving a Buick GL8. Seeing Lin Yi, Feng Sanhuang jumped out. Brother Lin, thank you for today. Feng Sanhuang actually bowed to Lin Yi this time. Lin Yi paused. He felt that San Huang's words had exceeded a normal bodyguard's. Even if he was Su Shihan's bodyguard, he didn't need to go through all these formalities. Mr. Feng, Lil Han came to my place, and it's my duty to protect her. There's no need to thank me, but I see that you seem to care a lot about Su Shihan. You like her? Target equals _ blank. Chapter 1983. Book Ocean Pavilion Chapter 1995. Being followed. Ahem. San Huang's heart skipped a beat when he heard the first half of the sentence, but the second half made him choke. I was actually asked by someone to protect Miss Su, but it's a secret kind of protection that Miss Su doesn't know about. In Miss Su's eyes, I'm just a normal chauffeur and bodyguard, not a practitioner. So please keep it a secret, Brother Lin. San Huang's heart skipped a beat when he heard the second half. Oh, I get it. You're the celebrity's bodyguard. Lin Yi wasn't surprised at all after hearing San Huang's words because he was the school beauty's bodyguard. It was just that the nature of his job was different from San Huang's. Lin Yi was in the light, and San Huang was in the dark. You can say that. San Huang saw that Lin Yi wasn't surprised at all, and felt that Lin Yi wasn't a normal person. Brother Lin, if I may be so bold, your current strength, Earth class. Lin Yi didn't hide it, but he didn't say whether it was early, mid, or late stage Earth class. After all, San Huang and Lin Yi weren't that close, and Lin Yi didn't want to say too much. San Huang took a deep breath. The last time he saw Lin Yi, he was still a peak mid-mystic class, and now he was an Earth class, thinking back to what Lin Yi had said to him. Don't think that just because you're a peak late mystic class, you can talk big in front of me. Could it be that Lin Yi was an Earth class back then, but he suppressed his strength to peak mid-mystic class, and not an Earth class? If that was the case, then why did he shamelessly threaten Lin Yi? Feng San Huang blushed just thinking about it. No wonder Lin Yi wasn't afraid at all, and directly threatened him back then. It turned out that he was suppressing his strength, of course. Feng San Huang didn't think that Lin Yi could jump from mystic mid-phase peak to Earth class in just a few months. That speed of leveling up was like riding a rocket. It would be amazing if he could break through a small class in just a few months. Brother Lin, I've offended you before. Miss Su's safety will be in your hands later. Feng San Huang's attitude towards Lin Yi was even more respectful. Lin Yi waved his hand and didn't say anything else. Instead, he pointed in the direction of the hotel and said, "They're out. Let's not talk about this anymore." All right. Lin Yi's words were exactly what Feng San Huang wanted. Feng San Huang didn't want to discuss this in front of Su Shihan. Xiao Han, Lin Yi greeted Su Shihan. As for Cheng Yi, Lin Yi only nodded to her. But Cheng Yi didn't seem to mind. She didn't seem to like talking to Lin Yi. She pulled Su Shihan and got in the MPV. Lin Yi sat in the front passenger seat, and Feng San Huang naturally became the driver. Although Feng San Huang wasn't familiar with the terrain of Donghai City, he was Su Shihan's professional driver. He was very good at finding the way. He only needed to look at the GPS to know how to get there. He started the car and went straight to the busiest commercial street in Donghai City. On the way, Su Shihan and Cheng Yi were discussing something, but Lin Yi wasn't interested in listening. It was mostly about how to make up, how to be beautiful, and how to have a good body. After a few turns, Feng San Huang arrived at the commercial street and parked the car in the parking lot nearby. I didn't expect Donghai City's commercial street to be so busy this late. Su Shihan looked at the street outside the car window and said in surprise, "Donghai City is a provincial city. Naturally, there are a lot of shops that are open 24 hours. Lin Yi said, "Thank you, Lin Yi. It's so late, but you came out to shop with us." Sorry for disturbing your rest, Su Shirhan said gratefully. Cheng Yi frowned. It was a great honor for a normal person to be able to come out with a big star. Zhang Duopan wanted to come along, but she rejected him. Why was Su Shirhan begging Lin Yi? It's okay. Lin Yi and Feng Sanhuang walked behind Su Shirhan and Cheng Yi as if they were their bodyguards. Su Shirhan probably didn't have many opportunities to go shopping. Everything she saw was new. Lin Yi couldn't help but sigh. Although celebrities seemed to be famous, they didn't have much time. Every day, they just had to work and work. Cheng Yi, on the other hand, had a lot of knowledge about brands and shops. She was the one who brought Su Shirhan to shop. Feng Sanhuang, on the other hand, was very nervous. He was always on guard. His eyes kept looking around, as if he was afraid of missing something. Lin Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry at his seriousness. I say, Sanhuang, you don't have to be like this, right? Relax a bit. Otherwise, I'm afraid that Xiaohan will be fine, but you'll be so nervous. Brother Lin, I have to kill the danger in the cradle. Feng Sanhuang smiled bitterly. I'm different from you. I have to ensure Miss Su's safety, especially after what happened today. It's okay. I'll watch for you. I'll tell you if there's any danger. Lin Yi said. Although Lin Yi said that, Feng Sanhuang saw that Lin Yi didn't seem to be on guard at all times. So he didn't relax at all. From his point of view, Lin Yi was an outsider. No matter what, he wouldn't be very careful. Feng Sanhuang was different. Lin Yi looked at Feng Sanhuang and shrugged. He didn't say anything. Along the way, the four of them went to most of the shops on the street. Shirhan seemed to be especially addicted to shopping, including the shops that sold mobile cases, small accessories. She would go to all of them, even buying one or two small things before leaving reluctantly. This situation made Lin Yi sigh. Miss Su's work is actually very busy. Book Ocean Pavilion. She's a very hardworking person. She hasn't followed any unspoken rules. Her current results are all from her own efforts. Although I've helped her along the way, it's also related to her own purity. If she wants to abandon herself to vice, I can't do anything about it. Feng Sanhuang saw Lin Yi sigh. He knew what Lin Yi was thinking. He explained. Plus, she used to have headaches that could act up at any time. That's why she didn't have the chance to go shopping. Luckily, you helped her. Lin Yi nodded. He didn't answer. He also felt that something was wrong. Lin Yi had been laughing at Sanhuang earlier, telling him not to be so careful, but now he felt as if he was being followed and watched. It was a feeling that came from the sixth sense he had when he was doing missions in the primeval forest. Book C Pavilion. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1984. Book C Pavilion. Because the jade didn't give any warning, it meant that either he was wrong or the enemy was too far away, out of the jade's detection range. But Lin Yi was leaning towards the first possibility, because Lin Yi wouldn't be wrong about this feeling. Lin Yi took a deep breath and started to be on high alert. But for the rest of the journey, this feeling was very faint, and the jade didn't give any warning. This feeling made Lin Yi very doubtful. Was there someone following him, or did they intend to harm him? After that, Lin Yi still couldn't find the person following him. Either this person was an absolute master and could follow him from a distance, or he was too vigilant because of what happened during the day. Huh? There's beef noodles here too? Cheng Yi pointed at the signboard of an alley next to the pedestrian street. What, Yi? You like to eat this? Su Shirhan asked curiously. Yeah, I've liked to eat it since I was young. It's been a long time since I've had it, Cheng Yi said. No, I must go eat it today. Oh, right. I forgot. Your hometown seems to have this kind of noodles. Su Shirhan nodded. Since we're here, let's go eat a bowl? Okay. Cheng Yi nodded and said excitedly. But the alley looks dirty, and there's no one around. Can we eat this? Su Shirhan walked 2 steps and looked at the dark alley full of trash. She was a little hesitant. "It's okay. I used to eat it when I was young." Chung-yi said, "Okay, then let's go try." Su Shirhan hesitated and decided to accompany her. Seeing the two of them going into the alley, Lin-yi instinctively felt that something was wrong, but he didn't know how to stop them. While he was hesitating, Su Shirhan and Chung-yi had already walked into the alley. Lin-yi had no choice but to follow with Feng Sanhuang. Feng Sanhuang's expression became more cautious and vigilant. He wanted to dissuade her. Su Shirhan Book C Pavilion. Why did they have to come to this kind of place? There were clearly a lot of snacks there, but they just had to eat noodles. However, this idea was suggested by Chung-yi, and Feng Sanhuang wasn't her driver or bodyguard, so he couldn't say anything. The alleyway was very dark, there was no one, and no light. There was a kind of eerie feeling. Su Shirhan was a little nervous. After all, this kind of eerie and dark scene reminded her of some bad memories. Su Shirhan subconsciously frowned and used both hands to press on her temples. "Sister Han, what's wrong?" Chung-yi saw Su Shirhan's nervous face and quickly asked, "Is your headache acting up again?" And Shirhan nodded and quickly took out a bottle of Miracle Dr. Guan painkiller from her bag and poured it into the bottle. Medium, Chung-yi rubbed Su Shirhan's temples and said with concern, "Han sis, why don't we stop eating? Let's go back. Since you're here, let's go eat. Don't spoil the mood." Su Shirhan forced a smile. "It's fine, don't worry about me." But Chung-yi looked at Su Shirhan's frowning face, still a little worried, however. As the two were arguing, Lin-yi sneered, "Since you're here, then come out. What's the point of hiding? Is this the behavior of an Earth-class mid-phase master?" "What? There's an enemy?" Feng Sanhuang heard Lin-yi's words and jumped. Su Shirhan and Chung-yi were shocked as well. Two men in black came out from the darkness in front of the alleyway, but their faces were still covered with black masks, so people couldn't see their faces clearly. "You're not simple. You can actually sense my presence, and you can even say my strength. Friend, which path are you on? I advise you not to get involved in this mess. It's none of your business here." One of the men in black was obviously afraid of Lin-yi, which was why he said these words. Of course, he was planning to ambush Lin-yi, but Lin-yi was able to see through his whereabouts. He was quite angry at Lin-yi, but he had other important things to do today, and he couldn't see through Lin-yi's strength, so he didn't want to cause more trouble. Moreover, he naturally wouldn't think that Lin-yi was tricking him to come out. After all, if Lin-yi could say his strength, it meant that he had already been discovered. In actuality, Lin-yi really didn't find any traces of this Earth-class mid-phase black-clothed man. It was through the jade that he found the movements of the other black-clothed man, a mystic late-phase peak master. Through this person, Lin-yi caught a faint trace of energy beside him, and that was how he found the black-clothed man. "Why would I stand here if it's none of my business?" Lin-yi looked at the man in black like he was looking at an idiot. "If it's none of my business, why would I find your traces and say your strength? Do you think I have nothing better to do? You go deal with Su Shirhan. I'll take care of this." The Earth-class man's face turned cold, and he ordered the mystic next to him. "Yes." The black-clothed man nodded and flew toward Shirhan, throwing a punch at her. Obviously, he wanted to kill Shirhan with one punch. Lin-yi had been observing the reactions of these two, and when he saw the movements of the black-clothed man, he sneered, and his side also started to move. He used a bit of force in his legs and flew towards the mystic next to Su Shirhan. In order to confuse the mystic in front of him, Lin-yi had been suppressing his strength, making it seem like he was only a mystic-class mid-phase peak. The purpose of this was to kill the mystic-class late-phase peak in one hit, and then he could focus on dealing with the Earth-class mid-phase master. Lin-yi didn't have the slightest confidence in winning against someone 2 levels higher than him, and he was a bit nervous, so he had to kill all the uncertain factors in the cradle. Although Lin Yi wasn't afraid of this mystic late phase peak, with him here, if Feng Sanhuang couldn't stop him and allowed him to attack Su Shirhan, then Lin Yi would have to send a clone over to save her. He didn't have the confidence to win in the first place, and if that happened, then there would be even less of a chance. Although Lin Yi had fought many Earth class masters before, Boss Yu had just entered the Earth class and hadn't learned any martial arts yet, so Lin Yi was able to intimidate him when he was still a mystic, and the follower of Right Coiling Tiger, Lin Yi was having trouble dealing with him. If it wasn't for the Chi Bomb, Lin Yi wouldn't have been able to deal with him so easily. Book Ocean Pavilion, target equals _blank. Chapter 1985. Book C Pavilion Chapter 1997. Who will be the winner? As for the other 3 Earth-class warriors, Lin Yi used his fire poison chi to burn them to ashes. But this move could only be used once. It was impossible to use it a second time. The only thing Lin Yi could rely on now was the first 3 moves of the Frenzy Fist. He didn't know if it would be enough to fight against this Earth-class mid-phase man. Humph! The mystic late phase peak looked at Lin Yi coldly. When he saw that Lin Yi was only a mystic mid-phase peak master, a trace of disdain appeared on his face. Since you're so eager to die, I'll fulfill your wish. As he said that, his target changed from Su Shirhan to Lin Yi. He raised his palms slightly, as if waiting for Lin Yi to attack. It wasn't that he was arrogant, but in his eyes, Lin Yi was only a mystic mid-phase peak master, and he was a mystic late-phase peak master. The 2 of them were 2 whole levels apart. If he couldn't kill Lin Yi like that, then it would be strange. So, the mystic class man in black looked at Lin Yi with pity in his eyes. In his eyes, Lin Yi was already a dead man. However, Lin Yi didn't seem to notice the danger at all. He still rushed towards the mystic. Not good. The Earth class man's heart skipped a beat. He yelled at the mystic, "Careful! Don't fight him head-on." The Earth class man felt that Lin Yi was a mystic mid-phase peak master, so he didn't put him in his eyes at first, but he suddenly thought that something wasn't right. If Lin Yi could tell that he was an Earth class mid-phase master, then how could he not see that the mystic was a mystic late-phase peak master? If that was the case, then Lin Yi, a mystic mid-phase peak master, going to fight a mystic late-phase master head-on. Wasn't there something wrong with his head? Either that, or he was courting death. More importantly, how did Feng Sanlei die? Feng Sanhuang hadn't arrived at East Ocean City at that time. Even if he had arrived at East Ocean City, it wouldn't have been easy to kill Feng Sanlei. They were all disciples of the Feng family. What Feng Sanhuang knew, Feng Sanlei also knew. In this kind of situation, it was the most difficult to determine the winner and loser. Even if they couldn't win, staying alive was not a problem. And if Feng Sanlei could fall here, then Su Shirhan must have a master beside her. However, since that expert wasn't Feng Sanhuang, the only one left was Lin Yi. Su Shirhan and Cheng Yi couldn't be that powerful. So when he realized that something was wrong, the man in black immediately warned the man in black. However, he was too slow. The man in black still needed some time to react after hearing his words. At this time, Lin Yi's palm was already pressed on the man's palm. Too late. Lin Yi shouted coldly. With a loud bang, the man in black's body flew out like an arrow. After flying in the air for some distance, he crashed into the wall of the alley not far away. You're not mystic mid-phase peak. You're Earth early phase. This was the last thing the man in black said as he slid down the wall. Then he spat out a mouthful of blood, his vision went black, and he died. Despicable. How dare you trick me? The man in black's eyes were filled with anger. He wanted to burn Lin Yi to death. He didn't think that Lin Yi would use a method to hide his strength and kill one of his people first. Trick me? Lin Yi patted the dust off his hands and curled his lips. He's just too arrogant. Can't you see that? You, the man in black was speechless. He couldn't refute Lin E. Indeed, if Lin E were to trick him, it was because the man in black was too arrogant. If he had been more careful, he wouldn't have ended up like this. With that thought, the man in black took a deep breath and looked at Lin E with hatred. He pointed at Lin E and said, "I don't care who you are. If you want to get involved in this mess, then don't leave. You and your family will pay the price of blood for your meddling." "What did you say?" Lin E frowned. A hint of hatred flashed across his eyes. This person dared to use his family to threaten him. This made Lin Yi's heart surge with rage. No matter what, he had to make this person stay here. Not for anything else but for Meng Yao, Yushu, and all his friends. Haha, when you're dead, I'll investigate your identity. I'll visit your friends and family one by one. The man in black smiled sinisterly. "This is the consequence of killing my people. If that's the case, then it's either you die or I die. I won't rest until I die." Lin E looked at the man in black coldly, but his heart was filled with caution. This man was too evil. If Lin E didn't make him stay here, then what awaited him would be unbearable revenge. "I won't rest until I die. You think you're worthy?" the man in black said as his chi surged out of his body. His Earth-class mid-phase strength was on full display. "We don't know who's going to die yet. It's too early for you to say that." Lin E took a deep breath and started channeling his practitioner's arts, showing off his Earth-class early phase strength. But early phase was still early phase. It wasn't the peak. Compared to the man in black, there was still a difference of 2 levels. The Earth-class black-clothed man looked at Lin E and Feng San Huang, deep in thought. "Try Huang, take Xiaohan, and the others and hide behind." Lin E could guess what the man in black was thinking. He moved his feet slightly and quietly stood in front of the man's attack. Just now, Lin E had ambushed one of the mystic black-clothed men, and he must have incurred the wrath of this Earth-class black-clothed man. So, he probably had the idea of getting rid of Feng San Huang first. This way, Su Shirhan would have no one to protect her, and he could take advantage of the chaos to get rid of Su Shirhan. After that, the mission would be completed. Book Ocean Pavilion, it was no longer a problem for him to fight to the death. But since Lin E saw through his thoughts, naturally he wouldn't let it happen. That's fine. Feng San Huang didn't want to be a deserter, but he knew that the difference in strength between him and his opponent was too big. Staying here was equivalent to being a hindrance to Lin E, and Lin E had to split his attention to take care of him and Su Shirhan. There was no way he could win. So Feng San Huang only hesitated for a moment before quickly pulling Su Shirhan and Cheng Yi to a place far behind Lin E. Humph. The man in black was a bit annoyed that Lin E saw through his thoughts. Book Ocean Pavilion, target equals _blank. Chapter 1986. Book C Pavilion, but from his point of view, it wasn't a big deal. If he couldn't sneak attack, then so be it. If he could take care of Lin E first, then wouldn't Feng San Huang and Su Shirhan be in the bag? The Earth-ranked black-robed man took a step forward and waved his left hand in the air, forming a layer of green mist around his left arm. The mist exuded a dense chill. It looked like he was cultivating some kind of water-type mental cultivation method, and it was paired with a snow-type martial skill. Water element, snow element. Looking at the man in black, Lin Yi's eyes flashed with a trace of confusion. In his memory, he seemed to know someone who also practiced this water element technique, and it was related to the snow element technique. But as for who it was, Lin E couldn't remember at all. At the moment when Lin E was lost, the man in black had already activated his technique. Lin Yi's eyes blurred for a second, and then he saw the man in black rushing towards him. The green mist on his left fist was even clearer, and there were even specks of starlight on it. It should be the result of the crystallization of the mist. Ice Snow Thorn. With a roar from the man in black, The green mist on his left fist suddenly broke out of his body and turned into a light green sharp blade. With an incomparably fast speed, it stabbed towards Lin Yi's chest. Lin Yi was shocked and quickly returned to reality. If it wasn't for the jade's warning signal that suddenly became extremely strong, causing Lin Yi to subconsciously dodge, that light green ice blade would definitely hit Lin Yi's chest. Even if it didn't pierce through Lin Yi's heart, Lin Yi would still be heavily injured. It was also because of Lin Yi's subconscious dodge that the ice blade was dodged, but it still touched Lin Yi's arm and cut through Lin Yi's clothes, leaving a long wound on Lin Yi's arm. Ah! Su Shihan screamed. She didn't expect this person to be so powerful. He could shoot out ice blades with his bare hands. To her, this was unimaginable. It was like a stunt from a TV show. Miss Su, please don't disturb Brother Lin. At this moment, it's taboo to be distracted. Feng Sanhuang frowned as he reminded Lin Yi in a low voice. Even though he was not too optimistic about Lin Yi's chances, his opponent was too strong and his martial technique was so ferocious. Feng Sanhuang thought that even if it was an expert of the same level, the chances of victory would not be too high. Not to mention Lin Yi, who was 2 levels lower than him. Okay. Shihan nodded seriously. What do we do? How can we help him? We can only wait. Feng Sanhuang wanted to tell them to run if the situation wasn't right, but he couldn't bring himself to say it. That's right, Sister Han. I think that since Lin Yi has risked his life for us, we can't run away by ourselves. That would be too disloyal. Cheng Yi was a very loyal person. Otherwise, she wouldn't have agreed to come to the freshman party because of Boss Zhang's request. And Shihan nodded. She also felt that it wasn't a good time to run away by herself. After dodging the fierce attack, Lin Yi let out a sigh of relief. A serious look appeared on his face. The opponent's martial technique had reached a state where he could control it freely. Although Lin Yi could do the same, Lin Yi's martial technique was a fire element. Water and fire countered each other. It was hard to tell who would be the winner. If the opponent was a practitioner of other martial techniques, Lin Yi's chances of winning would be higher. But it just so happened that the opponent could counter his martial technique. This made Lin Yi a little depressed. This was the first time he faced such a high-level opponent, and it was an opponent that countered his martial technique. You have some skills, but this is only the first form. The Earth-class black-clothed man sneered. An icy mist condensed on his left fist again. This time, it looked even fiercer and more majestic than before. Just like what he said, what he used before was only the first form of his martial technique. There should be more to come. And now that he was an Earth-class mid-stage master, he should be able to use at least 3 forms of martial technique. He might even be able to use the 4th form. Lin Yi took a deep breath. He didn't dare to be careless. He could see that this was the 2nd form of the Earth-class black-clothed man's move. Because of the bone-chilling cold, Lin Yi was still fine. But Shihan and the others behind Lin Yi felt like they had fallen into an ice cellar. They couldn't help but shiver. So Lin Yi didn't even think about it. He directly used the 2nd form of Frenzy Fist. In an instant, Lin Yi's fist was also wrapped in a ball of red flame. The high temperature made the cold autumn day feel warm. Shihan and the others behind Lin Yi felt like they were standing next to a bonfire. Fire element martial technique? If I'm not wrong, this shouldn't be the 1st form. Could it be the 3rd form? The Earth-class black-clothed man looked at Lin Yi in surprise. He didn't expect Lin Yi to be a fire element martial technique practitioner. Book Ocean Pavilion's a practitioner, and he's able to unleash the 3rd form of his martial art at the early phase of Earth class. According to the normal training progress, one would normally be able to use the 3rd form when they were about to break through to the mid-stage of Earth class. So far, he had only mastered 4 forms. That was because he was an Earth-class mid-stage master and had been famous for a long time. That was why he could use the fourth form. Even so, he was still considered a genius among his peers, but Lin Yi, could it be that this guy was pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger? Could it be that the early stage of Earth class wasn't his real strength? Thinking up to here, the Earth-class black-clothed man's eyes sharpened. He planned to exchange moves with Lin Yi and test out Lin Yi's strength. Of course, a battle between Earth-class masters didn't have as many concerns as a mystic class. In a battle between Earth-class masters, martial techniques were the most important. He estimated that Lin Yi's frenzy fist should belong to the third form, so he instantly changed his freezing snow pierce into the third form, planning to fight it head-on. The frigid snowthorn was actually one of the more superior martial skills. Among the martial skills collected by the ancient Feng clan, it could be ranked among the top. Therefore, he was confident that if he encountered a martial skill of the same level, he would be able to gain the upper hand. So, the black-clothed man's left fist went straight for Lin Yi's right fist. Lin Yi couldn't be bothered to explain too much to him. This Earth-class black-clothed man mistakenly thought that his second form was the third form. It seemed that Faubert's frenzy fist was indeed extraordinary. His second form should be able to compete with the third form of other martial techniques. But what Lin Yi didn't expect was that the Earth-class black-clothed man would change his second form into the third form at the last moment. And it was too late for Lin Yi to change it. The two fists collided with a loud bang. The black-clothed man quickly took a few steps back, but Lin Yi's body was sent flying. Book Ocean Pavilion. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1987. Book C Pavilion. Lin Yi's body landed heavily on the ground, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. It looked like Lin Yi was badly injured, but in reality, Lin Yi didn't suffer any serious injuries. He just borrowed the strength of the man's skill to fly out, and didn't take it head-on. The Earth-class black-clothed man, on the other hand, didn't seem to have taken a few steps back, but he wasn't much better off than Lin Yi. His internal organs were shaken up as well. He hurriedly circulated his mental cultivation method without batting an eyelid, and only then did he quickly calm down. At this moment, Lin Yi also saw that although the frenzy fist was strong, and each style was a level higher than the other skills of the same level, if he used the second style to fight against the third style of the opponent, he would still be at a disadvantage, especially when he was weaker than the opponent, and his chi wasn't as strong as the opponent. Even if he used the same level skills, it would still be affected. Lin Yi quickly channeled the art of dragon mastery to heal his injuries while the man didn't move. He could also see that the opponent was also healing, but Lin Yi didn't choose to continue attacking at this time. If the two were to fight head-on, then the one at a disadvantage would still be Lin Yi because Lin Yi's strength wasn't as strong as the opponent. So this kind of fighting style gave Lin Yi an advantage. The art of dragon mastery could heal injuries infinitely, but the opponent was only calming his injuries and couldn't recover in a short period of time. This time, Su Shihan didn't dare to disturb Lin Yi, so she covered her mouth with her hand, but she was worried for Lin Yi again. After Lin Yi healed his injuries, he didn't give the opponent a chance to rest anymore. He used the third style of the frenzy fist and rushed towards the man like lightning. The place where his fist passed through formed a long fire dragon, and the air resistance formed a long howl die. The man didn't think that Lin Yi would dare to fight head-on, and he couldn't believe it, because through the head-on collision he had already figured out Lin Yi's strength, although Lin Yi's skills were overbearing, and he didn't know how he practiced it to the third style. His internal strength was definitely only at the early stage of the Earth class. Although he was stronger than the normal early stage of the Earth class, he should be breaking through soon, but he definitely wasn't at the peak of the early stage of the Earth class. From the result of the collision, It could be seen that Lin Yi's strength was obviously weaker than the Earth-class black-clothed man, because the black-clothed man didn't even take a few steps back, but Lin Yi, on the other hand, was sent flying. This was a completely different level of strength, and to fight head-on in this situation, wasn't it the same as looking for death? Although he wouldn't die in one hit, a few more hits would probably kill him, so the man was very confused. What was this Lin Yi thinking? In fact, it wasn't that Lin Yi was looking for death, but because Lin Yi had no other way. The only thing Lin Yi could rely on was his advantage of being able to heal quickly. If he could use his martial skills to continuously clash with the man and have enough time for Lin Yi to recover, then Lin Yi was confident that he could make the man stay. But whether or not it would be like Lin Yi wanted was unclear. The fourth style? How is that possible? How could it be the fourth style? The man wanted to use the third style again to fight against Lin Yi, but found that Lin Yi actually used the fourth style. It should be known that the consumption of true qi for each style increased exponentially under normal circumstances. Under the circumstances that the level wasn't very high, using the most powerful style would consume a lot of true qi in the body. For example, if the man was a mid-earth class master, he could only use the fourth style 10 times or so before he would be exhausted. As for an early earth class master like Lin Yi, it would be good if he could use the second style 10 times, let alone the third or fourth style. Therefore, with regards to Lin Yi's fourth style, the man was very surprised. He didn't know what Lin Yi was going to do, but one thing was for sure, Lin Yi wanted to fight head-on. The Earth-class black-clothed man felt a wave of depression. He also changed the third style to the fourth style and used it against Lin Yi. He actually didn't want to waste time on Lin Yi. His target was Su Shirhan. The words he said before were to threaten Lin Yi and make Lin Yi say some soft words and leave, but he didn't expect it to have the opposite effect. This guy didn't care about his life at all. Peng. Lin Yi looked at the ice mist on the man's left hand that suddenly became even sharper. Lin Yi's heart slightly shivered, but he still clenched his teeth and faced it head-on. Facing an Earth-class master who was a higher level than him, Lin Yi didn't have the slightest confidence in winning. If it was just one level higher, Lin Yi could see that he could use Frenzy Fist to defeat him. If the Earth-class black-clothed man didn't practice his fourth form, then Lin Yi could totally use the third form, Frenzy Fist, to defeat him, because the third form, Frenzy Fist, was infinitely close to other people's fourth form. But this Earth-class black-clothed man was 2 levels higher than Lin Yi, and he practiced the fourth form, Cold Snow Pierce. Lin Yi could barely fight him to a draw, and it was very difficult. When he was in the Mystic class, the feeling of killing his opponent in a second was almost non-existent. This made Lin Yi very unhappy and depressed. The feeling of going from the strongest under Earth class to the weakest under Heaven class made Lin Yi want to vomit blood. The flames of the fiery fist clashed with the ice mist of the icy snow spike, forming a huge energy collision. Lin Yi's body flew back once more, but of course, the Earth-class black-clothed man wasn't having it easy either. After all, the third style that Lin Yi used was infinitely close to his fourth style. This kind of head-on collision, Lin Yi already suffered internal injuries. How could he have it easy? Book Ocean Pavilion, his internal organs had changed positions, causing him to vomit a mouthful of black blood. It was obvious that he had suffered the same serious internal injuries as Lin Yi. The man in black was so angry that he wanted to curse. It was obvious that Lin Yi's strength was much weaker than his, but he could still use the fourth style of martial arts. This kind of head-on collision was a method of mutual destruction. In the end, whoever had the stronger Jin Qi would have the advantage. It was completely at the cost of one's own injury in exchange for the other's death. Lin Yi naturally didn't have it easy either. This move brought much more damage than the previous one. Lin Yi continuously vomited 4 or 5 mouthfuls of blood, and his face became very pale. Book Ocean Pavilion. Target equals underscore blank. Chapter 1988. Book C Pavilion. Chapter 2000. The gap was huge, but as soon as Linny landed, he didn't waste any time and quickly entered the jade space to heal and replenish his energy. As for the man in black, he didn't dare to attack Linny. He had to adjust his breathing first. He was afraid that Lin E would counterattack him if he tried to attack Lin E. So since Lin E was adjusting his breathing, he also took the opportunity to adjust his breathing. At this time, both sides had a tacit understanding to not attack each other. This was because the qi in their bodies wasn't flowing smoothly. They also knew that if they attacked each other now, they would both die. So no one did anything stupid. After a few moments of adjustment, the man in black let out a long breath and sneered at Lin E. "What? Brat, you just barely managed to activate the fourth move of the martial skill. Are you unable to stand up? You've lost a lot of qi and become a soft-footed shrimp? Haha, then I won't be polite. You can go die now." Lin E didn't want to waste any time. Even if he could heal and replenish his qi in the jade space, it wouldn't make up for the loss of his qi. His internal injuries could only be healed by half. So Lin E waited for the man in black to finish his sarcastic words before reluctantly returning to reality. He stood up lazily and looked at the man in black. "Oh, I've actually recovered a long time ago. I just sat on the ground for a while. I thought you wouldn't make it this time. So you're not dead yet? Then let's go again." As Linny said this, he continued to use the third move, Frenzy Fist. The man in black had just finished adjusting his breathing and hadn't thought about what to do next when he saw Lin E using the fourth move again. He almost died. He thought to himself, "You don't want to live anymore? You've suffered such serious internal injuries in the previous head-on clash, and you still want to fight head-on? Can't you just exchange a few moves before using the martial skill? Even if you don't mind the lack of Jinchi. I do." However, thinking about it was just thinking about it. Lin Yi's fist had already arrived. The Earth Stage black-clothed man could only grit his teeth and receive it. Otherwise, he would probably be crippled by Lin. Even a mystic mid-phase peak master wouldn't dare stand there and let the opponent hit him. That would definitely cripple him. Bang! Another violent collision resounded, and the two men's bodies were once again blasted apart by the huge amount of true qi. Linny was once again sent flying, and this time, the Earth-ranked man in black was in a much worse state than the previous two times. His internal injuries had not yet recovered, so when he collided head-on with Lin E, he didn't just take a few steps back. Instead, he took a few steps back, all the way to the corner of the wall behind him. Only then did he manage to hold onto the wall and stabilize himself. But this time, he spat out 2 mouthfuls of black blood. Naturally, Lin E wasn't much better. It was also more serious than the last time. He was still sent flying, landed on the ground, and spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. Then he quickly entered the jade space to heal and replenish his strength. However, the physical strength and injuries consumed every time he used the martial skill couldn't be replenished in a short period of time. So, Lin E could only replenish a small portion each time. Every time, he would waste a large portion. This reminded Lin E of the battle with Right 13. That time, Lin E used this kind of tenacious willpower to compete with Right 13. But at that time, Right 13's martial skill was obviously not on the same level as this Earth-ranked man in black. In fact, it could be said that the difference was like heaven and earth. Now, Linny could roughly guess that this person in front of him wasn't from an ancient sect. Book C Pavilion, the sect, was an ancient family. Otherwise, it would be impossible to have such a powerful martial skill. And it was also impossible for him to master the 4th martial skill at the mid-phase of the Earth ranked. All signs indicated that if this person wasn't a genius, then he came from a wealthy family. Even hidden families would be left in the dust. Kid, You can't do it this time, can you? This time, the Earth-ranked man in black didn't get up so quickly to mock Lin Yi. Instead, he adjusted his breathing for a long time. Seeing that Lin Yi was still sitting on the ground, he mocked him. After a while, Lin Yi stretched and said lightly, "I was about to fall asleep, and you only finished adjusting your breathing. You're really slow. I thought you were dead." Bullsh *T. The Earth-ranked man in black said angrily, "You have more Bullsh *T than me. Stop pretending. You want to scare me away by pretending to be calm? That's just wishful thinking. Do you think I don't know that you're talking nonsense? If you had nothing better to do, why didn't you sneak attack me? Why are you still on the ground?" "Sneak attacks are so shameless." Lin Yi smiled faintly. "You hid your strength just now to kill one of my people. Isn't that shameless?" The Earth-ranked man in black was already infuriated by Lin Yi. This little bastard only knew how to fight head-on. Fight head-on? Yes, he must have done it on purpose, pretending to be fine to scare me away. How could I let him succeed? In fact, what the Earth-ranked man in black thought was not wrong. Lin Yi's injuries were indeed heavier than his. This could be seen from the distance Lin Yi flew. But Lin Yi had the jade pendant, so he didn't know. Hiding and sneak attacks are different. Lin Yi said, "Come on, let's continue. See how open I am. Who will sneak attack who?" The Earth-ranked man in black was angry. He was a dignified Middle-Earth ranked master, but he was being bullied by Lin Yi. But Lin Yi's bully was really effective. The pride of a Middle-Earth ranked master was not ordinary, especially when facing a weakling like Lin Yi. So the Earth-ranked man in black said, "What's there to be afraid of? Come on." And so Lin Yi's Raging Flame Fist third form once again met the Earth-ranked man's fourth form. After another loud bang, the two were once again bounced apart 5 times. This was the 5th time the two had clashed head-on. Lin Yi felt that his physical strength was getting weaker, and his injuries were getting worse. It had already begun to affect his normal martial arts. Lin Yi glanced at the Earth-ranked man in black. Although the opponent was also seriously injured, and his physical strength was also declining, the opponent was still a Middle-Earth ranked master. Compared to Lin Yi, the difference was too big, so Lin Yi couldn't guarantee that he could exhaust the opponent to death. And now Lin Yi also discovered that the Earth-ranked Middle-Earth ranked master in front of him and Right 13's Middle-Earth ranked master were two completely different concepts. Previously, Lin Yi could exhaust Right 13 to the point that he ran away in fear, but the Earth-ranked man in black in front of him definitely wouldn't. Not to mention that his martial arts were many times better than Right 13's. Even Right 13 could only use 2 martial arts at that time, which was incomparable to the Earth-ranked man in black in front of him. Lin Yi gritted his teeth. This definitely couldn't go on like this, and Lin Yi couldn't retreat. Not to mention whether Su Shirhan would be in danger if he retreated. It was just that the Earth-ranked man in black said that he would take revenge on the people around Lin Yi. Lin Yi couldn't let him go so easily. Book C Pavilion. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1989. Book C Pavilion, Chapter 2001, very touched. Therefore, Lin Yi had to think of a countermeasure. Without a countermeasure, Lin Yi would have a hard time defeating the man in black. While healing and replenishing his energy, Lin Yi's mind spun rapidly, trying to think of a solution. But in the current situation, Lin Yi had no other way. His strength was not enough. His martial arts were not enough. His mental cultivation. Yes, mental cultivation. Lin Yi had been using the first stage of the art of dragon mastery to heal and replenish his strength, but he had never used the second stage to do this. At that time, it was also because Lin Yi's first stage was relatively simple, so there was no need to use the second stage. So when Lin Yi used the second stage, he only used it for healing and nothing else. With that in mind, Lin Yi quickly changed the first level of the art of dragon mastery to the second level. In the next moment, Lin Yi's injuries healed 2 to 3 times faster than before, and the qi that he'd lost in his body was also rapidly recovering. It was many times faster than before. This situation made Lin Yi overjoyed, but at the same time, he felt that he was too stupid. If he had used this method to replenish his energy and heal, then he wouldn't be in such a miserable state. At least in this kind of head-on fight, Lin Yi wouldn't be at a disadvantage anymore. Of course, this situation today was completely accidental. This man in black came with a purpose. Otherwise, if it was someone else, they wouldn't fight with Lin Yi, a master with such powerful martial arts. But if he couldn't get past Lin Yi, he wouldn't be able to kill Su Shirhan. And Lin Yi fought with brute force, completely using a desperate method, leaving the man in black helpless. If he didn't fight, he couldn't dodge, right? Even if he dodged, he could only dodge once. Next time, if Lin Yi used a feint and then a real attack, then he would be in danger. Moreover, as the pride of a mid-Earth class master, he didn't want to show any weakness in front of an early Earth class master like Lin Yi. He was obviously 2 levels higher than Lin Yi, so why should he dodge? But most importantly, the man in black felt that he was stronger than Lin Yi. If this continued, the first to die would definitely be Lin Yi. In fact, after 5 consecutive collisions. If Lin Yi hadn't discovered that the second stage of the art of dragon mastery could heal and replenish his energy faster, Lin Yi would definitely die after a few more collisions. Kid, it won't work this time, right? I reckon that you'll be dead if you fight another 2 times. Now, kowtow and admit defeat. Hurry up and scram. Don't get in my way, and I'll let you and your family go. How about that? Although the Earth-ranked man in black was stronger than Lin Yi, it wasn't by much. At most, he was on par with Lin Yi after using the second level of the art of dragon mastery to heal and replenish his stamina. If this went on, even if he didn't die within a few moves, his stamina would be depleted endlessly. Book Ocean Pavilion, even if he went, he would still die. Therefore, the reason why the man in black said this was to test Lin Yi. He wanted to see if his estimation was correct. If Lin Yi was really an Earth-ranked early phase master, then no matter how strong he was, he would still be dead after 2 more collisions. I said that we won't stop until one of us dies. Let's continue. Lin Yi stood up and smiled at the man in black. Now that things had reached this point, Lin Yi couldn't let the man in black go. Let's not talk about whether or not he would keep his word and whether or not he would let his family go. Just from the current situation, Lin Yi couldn't leave Su Shirhan alone. Moreover, the Earth-ranked man in black had to die. He already knew of Chu Yang's background and strength. Once he returned and spread the news to his enemies, his true strength would be exposed. Would the family that had 3 Earth-ranked experts killed by Chu Yang take it lying down? So, no matter what, he couldn't compromise. The man in black heard Lin Yi's words and really wanted to say, "Are you a cockroach? Why are you still here? You're an Earth-ranked early phase master. Why aren't you dead yet? Are you really an Earth-ranked early phase master?" But although the man in black was suspicious, he was sure that Lin Yi was definitely an Earth-ranked early phase master. Otherwise, if Lin Yi was still hiding his strength in this situation, then there was something wrong with his brain. Su Shirhan covered her mouth. Crystal-clear tears silently flowed down her beautiful face. Lin Yi didn't need to care about her at all. If Lin Yi had the strength to easily kill the man, then there was no doubt that he would make a move. But now, Lin Yi clearly wasn't the opponent's match, and he was fighting with his life on the line. He was sent flying again and again, but every time he stood up, he'd smile and say, "Let's do it again." Su Shirhan was very touched and wanted to cry. She lost her parents' love when she was young, and this was the first time She felt that someone would treat her so well. She wanted to say, don't care about me, leave, but she didn't dare to make a sound and distract Lin Yi. Although Su Shirhan wasn't a practitioner, she could see that these two were really clashing with strength. One moment of distraction or carelessness, and she would die a horrible death. All this time, Su Shirhan and Lin Yi had the mentality of repaying a debt of gratitude. Lin Yi cured her headache, and she was very grateful to Lin Yi, but it was just gratitude. Their relationship could only be considered as a slightly better friend. Of course, there was also the relationship between Xiao Xiao, Tang Yun, Meng Yao, and Yu Shu. She just had a good relationship with Lin Yi. And now, Lin Yi's behavior had exceeded that of a normal friend. How could Su Shirhan not be touched? In fact, the reason why Lin Yi did this was because he was the one who invited Su Shirhan, so he had the responsibility to protect Su Shirhan. This man in black had threatened Lin Yi, and he wanted to attack the people around Lin Yi. How could Lin Yi let him live? Feng Sanhuang's face was very solemn. He was very grateful to Lin Yi. He wanted to help, but he knew that with his skills, he would only be a hindrance. Feng Sanhuang watched as Lin Yi fell and stood up again and again. He even thought that if he could, he would die in Lin Yi's place. After all, protecting Su Shirhan was Feng Sanhuang's duty, but to Lin Yi, it wasn't his duty or obligation. Lin Yi was merely helping out as a friend. Chung Yi's eyes were filled with terror as she looked at everything in front of her, not knowing what to do 6 times, 7 times, 8 times. Lin Yi wasn't having a good time, but the earth-rank black-robed man wasn't having a good time either. He wondered why Lin Yi was still alive. How could he still stand up and fight with him? If Lin Yi was an Earth-class early phase master, he would have been dead by now. Even if he wasn't dead, he wouldn't have the stamina to fight him. How did Lin Yi do it? Book C Pavilion, target equals _blank. Chapter 1990. Book C Pavilion, Chapter 2002 Not Willing. Previously, when Lin Yi used the 4th form with the strength of an early Earth class, the man in black was already a little confused. And now he was even more confused. Of course, the 4th form was only the 3rd form. Kid, we're always using the 4th form to meet force with force. Isn't that too unsightly? How about we change a few moves? It's too boring to play like this. The man in black was finally a little scared. He was afraid that if Lin Yi kept going, he wouldn't be able to hold on much longer. Under normal circumstances, he could only use the 4th form about 10 times. Even if he was lucky, he could only use it about 15 times. Now that he had used it 8 times, what if Lin Yi could still hold on? And Lin Yi actually didn't want to go on like this. Although the 3rd form was powerful, it wasn't as powerful as the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd forms. And Lin Yi actually couldn't hold on for much longer. Even with the 2nd stage of the art of dragon mastery, Lin Yi could only hold on for another 5 or 6 times. Just when he didn't know what to do, the man in black actually made such a request. Lin Yi was overjoyed. How could he refuse? All right, then let's start from the 2nd form, but don't play any tricks, Lin Yi said. His 1st form was equivalent to the 2nd form of the man in black, so Lin Yi could only say that he would start from the 2nd form. I'm afraid that you'll play tricks. Those who play tricks will die. The man in black nodded, but he was very puzzled as to why Lin Yi wanted to start from the 2nd form. But in an instant, he understood. The Earth-class black-clothed man also knew how to use martial arts from the 1st form, and the 2nd and 3rd forms would be stronger than if he used them alone. If he used them from the 2nd form onwards, he wouldn't be able to use them. So Lin Yi had suggested it because he was afraid that his martial arts would be stronger. However, the Earth-rank black-clothed man rarely practiced the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd style in succession, so it didn't have much of an effect on him. All right, let's begin. Lin immobilized the true chi within his body and launched the first move of the Raging Flame Fist towards the Earth Stage Man in black. The Earth Rank Black-Clothed Man also used the second form of his Icy Snowthorn to meet Lin Yi. Boom! A loud sound rang out as the two of them retreated. However, Lin Yi didn't stop after spitting out a mouthful of blood in order to keep using his skills, and so he didn't stop after spitting out a mouthful of blood. Instead, he quickly and continuously used the second form of Frenzy Fist towards the Black-Clothed Man. The Earth-Rank Black-Clothed Man didn't expect that Lin Yi would actually skip the time to adjust his breathing, and only attack with the third style. He didn't dare to adjust his breathing, and hurriedly used his own third style to meet the attack. Boom! Another one. Book C Pavilion A. Loud sound rang out as the two retreated once again, but this time the Earth Rank Man retreated even more than before, and he spat out even more blood than before. The Earth Rank Black-Clothed Man was somewhat puzzled. Lin Yi's third style seemed to be very powerful. Did he use the fourth style? However, he shook his head. This shouldn't be the fourth style, because the power of the fourth style was greater than this. But why did Lin Yi's third style seem to be stronger than his third style? In fact, Lin Yi was only using the second style. Even if it was infinitely close to the Earth Rank Black-Clothed Man's third style, it was still inferior to the third style. The reason why the Earth Rank Black-Clothed Man felt that it was very strong was because this style was directly derived from the first style, so it was stronger than the normal second style, resulting in such a result. However, before the Earth Rank Black-Clothed Man could think any further, Lin Yi's fourth style came attacking. The Earth Rank Black-Clothed Man was speechless. Do you want to die if you don't rest? However, Lin Yi's fist had already arrived, and he couldn't sit down to adjust his breathing, but he also didn't want to meet force with force again. Because he discovered that Lin Yi's fourth style was stronger than before, it was about 20% stronger. What was going on? Not only did Lin Yi not calm down to adjust his breathing, but he also continuously attacked, but stronger? Could it be that some people could start practicing from the second style, and the effect of each style was stronger than the previous one? Never heard of it. The Earth Rank Black-Clothed Man's blood was really boiling. In his opinion, if he took this move from Lin Yi, he would definitely be very miserable. This was different from before, where he had the time to adjust his breathing, but now he didn't. And this move from Lin Yi was even stronger. Thinking of this, the Earth Rank Black-Clothed Man's eyes turned, and he pretended to punch at Lin Yi, but in fact, he used both his feet to forcefully step on the ground, and his whole body borrowed the force to fly out, directly flying under the wall, not far away. This kind of dodging method was very shameful, especially for an Earth-class mid-stage master to not dare to take on an Earth-class early-stage master's martial technique. But at this moment, the Earth-class Black-Clothed Man didn't care about this shameful thing anymore. He even had some regrets. From the beginning, he shouldn't have clashed with Lin Yi so many times. He should have dodged a few times and used up some of Lin Yi's strength. But with the confidence of a Middle Earth rank, he didn't do that, and now he couldn't care so much, seeing that the Earth rank Black-Clothed Man suddenly dodged. Lin Yi's heart suddenly sank, and his expression changed. This third style, Frenzy Fist, was his trump card. He practiced the first and second style all the way, without stopping to urge the third style, in order to make the third style stronger. And if the third style hit the body of the Earth rank Black-Clothed Man, Lin Yi also had the confidence to seriously injure him. Before, Lin Yi had been persevering. Even when he used the first and second style to fight with the Earth rank Black-Clothed Man and suffered serious internal injuries, he didn't stop to heal and chose to continue. Because as long as the Earth rank Black-Clothed Man was seriously injured, then Lin Yi would have the absolute advantage. But unexpectedly, at this most critical moment, the Earth rank Black-Clothed Man actually chose to retreat. He didn't take the third style head-on. Lin Yi frowned. His heart was full of regret. And the third style had already been urged. It was impossible to stop in desperation. With regret, Lin Yi could only urge the third style. Although Lin Yi had tried his best to chase in the direction of the earth-rank black-clothed man, the power of the third style had mostly dissipated. By the time Lin Yi arrived in front of the earth-rank black-clothed man, only a small bit of hot flame swept across his body. This bit of flame might be fatal to ordinary people, but to the earth-rank black-clothed man, it was nothing, not even a small injury. Lin Yi wasn't willing to accept this. Yes, there was a deep unwillingness in his heart. Book C Pavilion, target equals _blank. Chapter 1991. Book C Pavilion, Chapter 2003, Frenzy Fist, 4th Form. He had painstakingly planned to activate 3 forms in a row, but it had actually been resolved by the earth-rank man's retreat. He had clenched his teeth and persevered even though he was injured, but in the end, it was all for naught. Thinking of this, Lin Yi was so angry that his eyes seemed to be emitting flames. Unexpectedly, Lin Yi actually continued to activate the Frenzy Fist 4th Form. This was a form that Lin Yi had activated many times without success, but for some reason, Lin Yi actually clenched his teeth and activated it once again under these circumstances. In the past, when he wanted to activate the 4th form after the 3rd form had ended, Lin Yi would have a feeling that his strength was not as strong as his will, and thus forcefully dispersed the condensed chi and aura, ultimately ending in failure. But this time, Lin Yi's expression was incomparably solemn, and once again activated the 4th form. Facing the earth-rank man in front of him, he took a step forward. Afterwards, the chi within Lin Yi's body frantically surged towards his right fist, and at this moment the heaven and earth spiritual chi around Lin Yi's body also seemed to be mobilized, and circled around Lin Yi's head and body. Lin Yi's hands quickly formed seals, forming a very strange posture. Under the astonished expression of the earth-rank man in black, he punched out, Frenzy Fist 4th Form. When the inconceivably powerful heaven and earth spiritual chi in the surroundings had been attracted by Lin Yi's Frenzy Fist's first 3 forms and condensed, Lin Yi finally took that final step, the 4th form. All of this seemed to be done in one go without any obstructions. In the past, when practicing the Frenzy Fist's first 3 forms when he wanted to activate the 4th form, it would always be for naught at the last moment. This wasn't because Lin Yi didn't work hard or anything. It was because his cultivation wasn't enough. Although he could get infinitely close to the minimum requirement of being able to perform the 4th form by relying on the overlay of his aura after practicing the 1st form, infinitely close didn't mean that he completely met the requirement, so he still couldn't do it. But it was different this time. When he used the 3rd move, Frenzy Fist, the challenge of his limits became his greatest help. His body seemed to have turned into a ball of flame at this moment. He pushed all his momentum to the limit and successfully activated the 4th move, Frenzy Fist. At this moment, the eyes of the earth-rank man in black surged with a strong sense of fear. The moment when Lin Yi's fist was about to land on his body, he once again urged the 4th form of the icy snow thorn to meet Lin Yi. At this moment, he wanted to dodge again, but he was already at the bottom of the wall, and there was nowhere to hide or hide. Left with no other choice, he could only take the attack head-on, but in the next moment his eyes flashed with deep shock. The 5th style. How is this possible? But the man in black, Book C Pavilion, before he could finish his sentence, he was sent flying by a huge force. However, the distance he flew was very limited, and he was directly hit by Lin Yi onto the cement wall behind him. His body smashed onto the cement wall, causing it to collapse with a loud bang. A super large hole had already appeared on his left hand and left chest. This was caused by Lin Yi's 4th style of Wildfire Fist. Those intermittent words from before were the last words of the black-clothed man of earth rank in this world. He died with everlasting regret. Even in death, he did not know how he had died. Why did Lin Yi suddenly execute the fifth form? What was the reason behind this? And Lin Yi was just an early Earth class, but all of this was meaningless because he was already dead. The death of the black-clothed man did not bring much joy to Lin Yi. On the contrary, Lin Yi's expression was incomparably solemn. Lin Yi's body was surrounded by more and more spiritual energy because Lin Yi could already feel that he was about to break through. The moment he executed the fourth style of Wildfire Fist, Lin Yi felt that he was about to break through. However, he resisted the urge to absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth and did not enter the space within the jade pendant. He carefully controlled the rhythm of his body and executed the fourth style of Wildfire Fist. Under the pressure of the fourth style of Wildfire Fist, the black-clothed man's fourth style, Icy Snow Spike, was broken without any resistance. This kind of victory was completely a fluke and a narrow victory. If it wasn't for the fact that the black-clothed man did not dare to meet Lin Yi's third style head-on at the last moment, and did not let Lin Yi's third style explode and fully release it, he would not have been able to execute the fourth style so smoothly. But if the black-clothed man knew that it was because of his escape that Lin Yi executed the fourth style and broke through in strength, he would definitely be depressed to the point of dying again. There were many reasons why he was able to execute the fifth style of Wildfire Fist, but the most important reason was that in this kind of dangerous situation, Lin Yi's potential was stimulated. And it was also because Lin Yi was about to break through at the same time that he successfully executed the fourth style. None of these conditions could be omitted. After killing the black-clothed man, Lin Yi didn't even check if the man was dead or alive. He directly sat cross-legged on the ground, activated the second stage of the Art of Dragon Mastery, and entered the jade space at this moment. The energy of heaven and earth above Lin Yi's head was getting denser and denser. Of course, this kind of phenomenon could only be felt by people, and Su Shirhan and Cheng Yi only felt that there seemed to be some kind of strange airflow nearby, but they didn't feel anything strange. Is he about to break through? Feng Sanhuang didn't think that Lin Yi would be able to kill an Earth-class mid-stage master with the power of an Earth-class early stage. And not only that, but from the looks of it, he had broken through the limit of his body's potential and was about to level up. Thinking up to here, Feng Sanhuang quickly said to Su Shirhan and Cheng Yi, "Don't move. Stand behind me. Brother Lin is about to break through. I want to do it for him." "Ah, okay." Although Su Shirhan didn't understand what Feng Sanhuang was talking about, she could clearly see the current situation. Lin Yi's enemy was defeated. There was a big hole in his body, and he couldn't be more dead. It was obvious that Lin Yi was no longer in danger, and this made Su Shirhan sigh in relief. At the same time, she admired Lin Yi even more, and even worshipped him. From the words of the black-clothed man, it could be seen that between the two of them, Lin Yi was at a disadvantage, but even at a disadvantage, Lin Yi was still able to climb back up again, and finally turned defeat into victory, creating a miracle. Cheng Yi's eyes, on the other hand, were filled with terror as she looked at Lin Yi and the dead man at the corner of the wall. Speechless Book Ocean Pavilion, target equals _blank. Chapter 1992, Book C Pavilion, Chapter 2004, Earth Class Early Phase Peak. After Lin Yi entered the space of the jade, he began to absorb the energy of heaven and earth in a frenzy. His body was like a big sponge, the endless energy pouring into his body. Compared to the slow absorption before, this was a completely different speed. As for Lin Yi, this was also the first time he used the second stage of the Art of Dragon Mastery to break through. He felt that his absorption speed was much faster than the first stage. In the same amount of time, he could absorb more energy into his body. At this moment, the sudden influx of pure energy was a little too much for Lin Yi to bear. Lin Yi took a deep breath and gritted his teeth. He didn't switch to the first stage of the art of dragon mastery, but continued to work on the second stage of the art. He had a feeling that the first stage wouldn't be able to break through this shackle, and the second stage was the right choice. Lin Yi closed his eyes and carefully controlled the pure energy that was pouring into his body, guiding it to flow and circle in his meridians. After the pure energy flowed into his meridians, it seemed to have a life of its own. Under the control of the second stage of the art of dragon mastery, it flowed back and forth in his meridians. This feeling made Lin Yi feel very comfortable. The pure energy that flowed through his meridians seemed to twist together with the original pure energy in his body, forming a unified flow. This was completely different from when he broke through to Earth class. The first stage of the art of dragon mastery didn't allow him to drive the pure energy that flowed into his body. It only allowed him to absorb the pure energy into his body. But the advantage now was that the pure energy that was absorbed into his body was fusing with the original pure energy, and the original pure energy became majestic and boundless. It seemed to have more vitality than before, which made it easier for Lin Yi to break through the bottleneck of the early phase peak of Earth class. However, breaking through to Earth class was evidently more difficult. As more and more pure qi entered his body, Lin Yi felt as if his entire body was on the verge of exploding. It was a torturous feeling, and there were a few times when he wanted to give up, but he gritted his teeth and persevered, because Lin Yi understood that it was like rowing a boat against the current. If he didn't advance, he would fall back. If he gave up this time, then it would be a little more difficult to break through the second time. After all, this kind of limit breakthrough in battle was something that could only be found by chance. If he gave up, then who knew when he would have to wait for the next time? So Lin Yi had to persevere no matter what. Suddenly, Lin Yi felt the meridians in his chest suddenly shook violently. His body also shook violently, and with a pu sound, he spat out another mouthful of black blood. This situation made Feng Sanhuang jump, and Su Shirhan and Cheng Yi, who were not far away, were also shocked. They didn't know what happened to Lin Yi, but they didn't dare to go up and disturb him. Lin Yi didn't really feel much, but rather it was because of the rapid circulation of the pure qi that forced the clotted blood out of his body, and his body's injuries were slowly recovering under the circulation of the pure qi. The second stage of the art of dragon mastery seemed to be able to heal injuries during breakthroughs, and while it was a little painful, it was indeed magical. After spitting out a mouthful of blood, Lin Yi felt a lot more comfortable in his chest. The vast and boundless pure energy in his body had already begun to break through the bottleneck. It worked hard bit by bit in the meridians and gradually filled up. Lin Yi carefully absorbed and controlled the pure energy in his body, letting it flow into every meridian in his body. Wherever the pure energy flowed through, it quickly fused with the previous pure energy, and the nearby injuries were also quickly healed. Because some injuries were more serious than others, Lin Yi was like walking on a tightrope. He didn't dare to be careless at all. He used the art of dragon mastery to guide the pure energy, sometimes fast, sometimes slow. At this moment, Lin Yi's body was already soaked with dirty blood and sweat, and he looked very haggard. Lin Yi was like a person covered in blood. If it wasn't for his rhythmic breathing and heartbeat that could tell that Lin Yi's body was very healthy, anyone who looked from afar would think that Lin Yi wouldn't be able to survive. Lin Yi slowly circulated the pure energy in his body. Finally, the pure energy had completed a full cycle in his body, and all his injuries were healed at this moment. However, the energy from the space in the jade pendant didn't stop flowing in, so Lin Yi didn't dare to relax at all and continued to circulate the second stage of the art of dragon mastery. Under Lin Yi's guidance, the pure energy began to circulate a second time. Slowly from beginning to end, Lin Yi suddenly realized that the pure energy in his body had been filled to an unbelievable level. At the same time, Lin Yi felt like his entire body was exploding. and after a loud boom in his ears, he felt unprecedentedly relaxed. Finally, a breakthrough. At this moment, Lin Yi was already at the peak of the early phase of Earth class. Phew. Lin Yi Book Ocean Pavilion, he let out a long breath, feeling full of strength from head to toe. There was a feeling of relaxation that he had never felt before, and it was very comfortable. As Lin Yi let out that breath, he slowly opened his eyes. At this moment, Lin Yi had regained his previous vigor. The moment Lin Yi broke through, Feng Sanhuang also let out a long sigh of relief. He was also a practitioner, and even though he wasn't as high as Lin Yi, he was still very clear about the situation when breaking through. So when he saw Lin Yi open his eyes, he immediately cupped his hands in excitement. Congratulations, Brother Lin, you've taken another step forward on the road of cultivation, reaching the peak of the early phase of Earth class. Heh, you've worked hard. Lin Yi nodded to Feng Sanhuang. Although Lin Yi was in the space of the jade pendant, he knew that Feng Sanhuang had been helping him outside. Therefore, Lin Yi was very grateful to Feng Sanhuang. Brother Lin, what do you mean by that? You're risking your life for us, and I'm just doing my bit. How is that hard work? Feng Sanhuang immediately shook his head and said, if it wasn't for you, Miss Su, Miss Chung, and I probably wouldn't have been able to escape from this man in black today. In Feng Sanhuang's opinion, Lin Yi could have just walked away, but Lin Yi hadn't done so. He'd even risked his life to make the black-clothed man stay by a narrow margin. This kindness had undoubtedly moved him greatly. Han's someone I invited. I wouldn't be able to live with myself if something were to happen to her. I can't just sit back and do nothing unless I'm dead. Lin Yi was a man of persistence towards his friends and family. Book C Pavilion, target equals _blank. Chapter 1993. Of course, Lin Yi wouldn't die. If Lin Yi really had no other way, he would think of a way to escape with Su Shihan and the others. Book C Pavilion Net. Lin Yi, thank you. Su Shihan looked at Lin Yi and said sincerely, I don't know how to thank you, but I can only say this one word. Thank you. Su Shihan said it from the bottom of her heart. A moment ago, she thought of Lin Yi as a good friend, but now he was the kind of friend that she could trust with her heart and even her life. Saving someone's life was something that couldn't be repaid. Money, kindness, nothing was more important than life. Su Shihan believed that if Lin Yi asked her to marry him right now, she would agree without hesitation. Although the story of a hero saving a beauty was a bit cliché, since ancient times, beauties loved heroes. Su Shihan couldn't say that she fell in love with Lin Yi in an instant, but deep in her heart, she had a very good impression of Lin Yi. So even if he asked her to marry him, she wouldn't reject it. Of course, Su Shihan was just joking. Lin Yi already had girlfriends, and two of them, even Meng Yao and Yushu, had some kind of relationship with him. He didn't need her anymore. You're welcome. Lin Yi stood up and said to Su Shihan casually. Ugh. Su Shihan didn't expect Lin Yi to say it so casually. She was a bit surprised. Although I don't know how to repay you, but no matter what you say, I will do my best. I won't hesitate. Feng Sanhuang looked at Su Shihan and hesitated, but in the end, he didn't say anything. Book C Pavilion Net. Making a superstar like Su Shihan make this kind of promise. If Lin Yi was a pervert, then one could imagine what kind of request he would make. So, Feng Sanhuang wanted to remind Su Shihan, but he felt that it was unnecessary. If Lin Yi was really that kind of person, then Feng Sanhuang, had misjudged him. Haha, sure. Yao Yao and Shu are both your fans. In the future, if they miss you, you can come over any time. Lin Yi smiled and said indifferently, as if he didn't take Su Shihan's promise seriously. Of course, no problem. It's just a small matter. We're good friends anyway. It's not a big deal. Su Shirhan naturally wouldn't treat this as a condition to repay Lin Yi. That's right. Why don't we hurry up and take a look at the face of that man in black and see who he is? Lin Yi suddenly thought of the masked man in black. Since he covered his face, he must be afraid of being recognized. Then the possibility of Su Shirhan and Feng Sanhuang knowing him was higher. That's right. This is the important thing. Feng Sanhuang also nodded and quickly walked towards the black-clothed man. He wanted to pull off the black-clothed man's mask, but his hand stopped halfway as he said in horror, "Corpse-dissolving powder." "Corpse powder?" Lin Yi paused, not understanding what Feng Sanhuang was talking about. He walked over, but when he saw the condition of the man's face, he frowned. As expected, it's corpse disintegration powder. Lin Yi was familiar with corpse powder from his previous job. This was a kind of powder that could quickly rot the skin and bones. Once it was sprinkled on the body, it would instantly corrode the body. Of course, this wasn't the strongest corpse powder. The stronger corpse powder, as long as a little bit was sprinkled, it could corrode the whole body. At this moment, the man in black's face was like this. It was completely corroded. Even half of the bones were corroded. Under the black mask, there was a yellow liquid that emitted a rancid smell. It was very disgusting. Su Shirhan and Cheng Yi, on the other hand, were so disgusted that they wanted to puke. "What's going on? When I was healing and breaking through, did someone come here?" Lin Yi frowned. Although he asked this, he was almost sure that in this alley, other than the four of them, there shouldn't be anyone else. Otherwise, if there was an unfamiliar aura, Lin Yi would definitely be able to sense it. But Lin Yi didn't. There shouldn't be anyone else. Feng Sanhuang frowned and shook his head. "When you were sitting on the ground, there should be 4 of us in the alley." "4 of us? Then there shouldn't be anyone sprinkling corpse powder." If that's the case, then the man in black must have bitten the capsule in his mouth or some kind of mechanism on the mask before he died. Lin Yi thought back to the time when they were on the airport highway. That mystic class peak late phase master was ruthless. If he could blow up his own head, then it wasn't surprising that the man in black could destroy his own face. That should be it. Feng Sanhuang nodded. Before, although Su Shirhan and Cheng Yi were running around anxiously, there shouldn't be anyone else who entered the alley. "Look at the other one." Lin Yi pointed at the other man in black not far away, but Lin Yi's eyes were better. With one look, he shook his head in disappointment and said, "It should be over. No need to look." Feng Sanhuang didn't give up and walked over to take another look. Sure enough, he found that the other mystic class man in black had also changed beyond recognition. He couldn't be identified at all. "No, these people are too cunning." Feng Sanhuang said hatefully, "We don't even know who they are. Damn it, forget it. I'll call someone to take care of the body. Then we'll go and identify the body from before." Lin Yi said, "Oh, you have connections?" Feng Sanhuang heard Lin Yi's words and was immediately happy. "Yang Huaijuan from the police station is a good brother of mine." Lin Yi said, "But as far as I know, the bodies have already been moved to the department." Feng Sanhuang smiled bitterly. "We need to find someone from the department." "Ha, my father-in-law is—" Lin Yi shrugged and smiled. "Father-in-law?" Feng Sanhuang paused. Xiao Xiao's father, Feng Tianlong. Su Shirhan knew and explained to Feng Sanhuang. Feng Tianlong. Feng Sanhuang was shocked and took a deep breath. "What's wrong?" Lin Yi and Su Shirhan were confused by Feng Sanhuang's expression. "Nothing. I'm just surprised that Bro Lin's father-in-law is from the department." Feng Sanhuang smiled bitterly. "Oh, I'll call him now." As Lin Yi spoke, he called Feng Tianlong and told him what happened here. As expected, the corpses had been moved to the Supernatural Investigation Bureau, but until now, no one had claimed or admitted that these people were related to them. target equals underscore blank. Chapter 1994. Feng Tianlong also said that he would immediately send people here to transport the two bodies away and continue to investigate the families or sects behind the scenes. Lin Yi also asked Feng Tianlong to send the photos of the men in black who weren't disfigured. When Lin Yi received the information, he showed the phone to Feng Sanhuang. I don't know them. Feng Sanhuang looked carefully for a long time and finally shook his head. I don't know these people. They are all unfamiliar faces. Lin Yi wasn't surprised at all by Sanhuang's response. After all, these people didn't need to be masked to show up. So it was obvious that they weren't afraid of being recognized and investigated. They were all small characters, so this was normal. Forget it. Let's wait for Uncle Feng and the others, Lin Yi said. Not long after, a car with a special license plate drove on the pedestrian street in a low-key manner. But even if it was low-key, it was still very abrupt for a car to appear on the pedestrian street. However, there was no other way. If they wanted to transport the body, they couldn't just come over and carry it away, right? The car stopped at the entrance of the alley. Feng Tianlong and a few men in black got off the car. Feng Tianlong was originally in Donghai City dealing with the drug dealers, so he rushed over quickly. Book Ocean Pavilion, net. Uncle Feng. Lin Yi went over to greet him. Little Yi, I'm busy these few days. I'll eat with you another day. I'll transport these two bodies first. I'll inform you immediately if there's any news. Although Feng Tianlong said that, he knew that he wouldn't be able to get any results from the investigation. After so long, no families or sects came out to claim these bodies. It was obvious that they didn't want to, and from the way their heads were destroyed, it could be seen that these people didn't want others to know their identity. Okay, Uncle Feng. Lin Yi nodded. Feng Tianlong quickly ordered 2 fully armed men to carry the 2 bodies that were covered with body powder into the car and drove away. Su Shirhan and Cheng Yi didn't have the mood to continue shopping. Such a big thing had happened. Both of them wanted to go back to their rooms and rest. However, Su Shirhan wanted to go back to the hotel, but Lin Yi didn't agree. Instead, he invited Su Shirhan to stay at his villa for the night. After all, Lin Yi was afraid that something might happen at night. Who knew if the enemy would send more masters to cause trouble? Su Shirhan didn't want to trouble Lin Yi anymore, but Feng Sanhuang said, if that's the case, then I'll have to trouble Brother Lin. Words cannot express my gratitude. Su Shirhan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She hadn't agreed yet, but Feng Sanhuang was more anxious than her. He agreed first, so Su Shirhan couldn't refuse anymore. She nodded and said, okay, I miss Yao Yao and Shu too. Let's go see them. Lin Yi's body was covered in blood, so the 4 of them returned to the parking lot under the surprised gazes of many people. No one dared to ask anything. Su Shirhan and Cheng Yi were wearing big sunglasses, and Feng Sanhuang looked cool. So many people thought that these 4 were not good people. They thought that they were from the underworld, so no one dared to provoke them. Feng Sanhuang sent Lin Yi and Su Shirhan back to the villa in Shueshang district, and he drove Cheng Yi back to Shueshang Hotel. Meng Yao and Yushu opened the door and saw Su Shirhan first. They were surprised and happy. Shirhan, says Shu, and I missed you. Meng Yao warmly invited Su Shirhan into the room, but when her eyes fell on Lin Yi, her whole body trembled. She was shocked. Lin Yi, what happened to you? It's nothing. I fought with a gangster and got some blood. Lin Yi didn't want Meng Yao and Yushu to worry, so he said it calmly, as if it was a very simple thing. Are you really okay? Meng Yao blinked and looked at Lin Yi suspiciously. After all, Lin Yi's situation was a bit too bad. His clothes were torn in a few places, and it was all black blood. Even Lin Yi's face and mouth were full of blood. Meng Yao couldn't help but suspect that Lin Yi had serious internal injuries, but he couldn't say it. I'm really okay. Lin Yi nodded. Let Detective Shu check. Yushu ran over and touched Lin Yi's body left and right, front and back. Ahem. Shu, if you want to take advantage of Lin Yi, just say it. You don't have to use the excuse of checking his body, okay? That's the trick of weird uncles. Meng Yao was speechless at Yushu's behavior. Wow, Shield Bro's muscles seem to be stronger. After the check by Detective Shu, Shield Bro is intact. Oh, it should be the upper body. The lower body hasn't been checked yet. Yushu looked at Lin Yi's lower body curiously. Okay, Shu, there's no need to check. Shirhan Sis is here. Can't you be more normal? Meng Yao was speechless, but seeing that Lin Yi was really fine, she was relieved. I'm very normal? Yushu said confusedly. Ha! Shirhan started laughing as well. Yushu had always been like this, always surprising people with her actions. You guys play, I'm going to take a shower. With that, Linny got up and walked to his room. Not only was he covered in blood, but he'd also just broken through. He was still sweaty and uncomfortable. I'll go to bed after that. You guys rest early too. Han still needs to help me with rehearsals tomorrow. Okay? Shirhan smiled at Lin Yi and nodded. Her eyes were full of gentleness and worship. Yushu looked at Lin Yi's back and then looked at Shirhan. Her face was a little strange. Wait, it seems like there's something going on. Shirhan Sis, there's something wrong between you and Shield Bro. What's wrong? Shirhan was recalling how Lin Yi stood up again and again. When Yushu suddenly asked her, her face turned red and she stuttered. Meng Yao wanted to tell Shu not to talk nonsense. Shirhan was a superstar. How could there be something going on with Lin Yi? But seeing Shirhan's stuttering expression, she was a little confused. Did something really happen between these two? So she didn't continue to say the words that were at the tip of her mouth. Instead, she looked at Shirhan suspiciously. Oh, there's something going on. Shirhan Sis, what did you and Shield Bro do just now? Don't tell me you've already pushed Shield Bro down? Yushu looked at Su Shirhan, her eyes gleaming. Ah, how is that possible? Shirhan said subconsciously. Then what's wrong with you guys? Why do I feel that something is wrong? Yushu continued to ask. Target equals _ blank. Chapter 1995. All right, I'll tell you guys, but don't tell Lin Yi that I told you guys. He doesn't seem to want you guys to know. Shirhan said helplessly. In order to clarify her relationship with Lin Yi, she had no choice but to tell Meng Yao and Yushu. He doesn't want us to know? Meng Yao frowned. She didn't know why she wasn't happy. Was it because Lin Yi and Shirhan were hiding something from her? Even if Shirhan was a celebrity she liked, Lin Yi was involved. Meng Yao couldn't help but feel uncomfortable. It's like this. Shirhan sat on the sofa and lowered her voice as she recounted everything that had happened. Shirhan was a superstar after all, and her eloquence was top-notch. Even if she wasn't as vivid as Yushu, she was still able to tell the whole story without leaving out any details. When she got to the part where Linny fell and got up, Shirhan couldn't hold back her tears. I'm so touched. I didn't think that Lin Yi would risk his life to protect me. We're just normal friends. Meng Yao, and Yushu were silent as well, shaken to the core. Fortunately, Lin Yi had returned victorious, and not only had his wounds healed, but he'd also used the opportunity to break through. It was a good thing to be happy about. The two also knew that Lin Yi had the ability to heal himself, and they also knew that Lin Yi was the protective person, whether it was Shirhan, Guan, Xian, Tang Yun, or even the Miss and Shu. Lin Yi would always step forward and risk his life to save them. Book Ocean Pavilion, net. So Meng Yao and Yushu understood. Lin Yi's just like that. He's very, very good to his friends. Meng Yao sighed. But at least it's over. Yeah, Lin Yi is a good man, you two. You have to cherish him. Shirhan sighed as well. Ah, Chu Mengyao blushed and was at a loss for words. Lin Yi has a girlfriend. Sister Shirhan, you know that. Hee hee, of course I know. But I can also see what you two are thinking. If it weren't for the two of you lining up here, maybe I would join in the fun too. Su Shirhan's words were said half-jokingly, so Meng Yao and Yushu didn't take it seriously. Both of them focused on the first half of Su Shirhan's sentence. Oh, Sister Shirhan is so amazing. She can see that I like Shield Bro at once, Yushu said, but Sister Yao Yao is so reserved, but she can also see it. It's really not simple. Little Shu, are you still asleep? What the hell are you talking about? Meng Yao glared at her. Book C Pavilion, net. Shirhan sis, do you like Shield Bro too? Yushu was afraid that Meng Yao would beat her up, so she quickly changed the topic. Ha! Su Shirhan was a little suspicious, and after hearing Yushu's words, she blushed and said incoherently, How could I? I just think that Lin Yi is very powerful, and I admire him a little. Oh, ha! Yushu and Meng Yao didn't expect Su Shirhan to admit it. Anyone could tell that Yushu was joking and changing the topic, but Su Shirhan took it seriously. She even said that she admired Lin Yi. What did this mean? A man who could make a superstar admire him was really not simple. Could it be that Su Shirhan really liked him because he saved the damsel in distress? You've misunderstood. I just think that he's very powerful, but I'm not in love with him. Su Shirhan saw the two's expression and quickly explained, and I'm a superstar. How can I fall in love with someone so easily? That's true. Meng Yao heard Su Shirhan's words and nodded. Lin Yi was so powerful, it was possible that she simply admired him. After all, she admired Lin Yi's skills and perseverance. She just didn't say it out loud. After all, Su Shirhan was someone who had seen the world. After a short moment of panic, she easily changed the topic, and the three of them started talking about other things. Su Shirhan had participated in large-scale press conferences, and she could easily deal with all those tricky questions from the media, not to mention Meng Yao and Yushu. Lin Yi went back to his room, took a shower, and sat on the bed cross-legged to continue practicing. He needed to stabilize his strength and level. Meng Yao, Yushu, and Su Shirhan, on the other hand, were tired after talking for a while. They went upstairs to shower and get ready to rest. The Miss and Shu showered together. Although Su Shirhan was very familiar with them, she didn't want to bathe with them. She could only bathe alone after they were done. Meng Yao was wiping herself with a towel after showering when she suddenly asked, Right, Shu, didn't we ask Lin Yi to get the underwear? Why didn't he give it to us? Did he keep it for himself? Oh, no way. Shield Bro isn't that perverted. Is he? Yushu blinked. If Shield Bro likes it, I can actually give it to him. For free. Ahem. Maybe it's because Han Jingjing was there yesterday and she came back with us, so he didn't take it out. He came back with Su Shirhan today, so he didn't have the chance to take it out. We'll ask him tomorrow. Meng Yao guessed. That's possible. Yushu said, inside the private room of the restaurant in Shuishang Hotel. Today, a small leader of the East Sea side of the Firewolf Gang invited the person in charge of the East Sea side of the Firewolf Gang to a banquet. The leader was, naturally, Li Biaohan from Donghai Industry University, and the new person in charge of the Firewolves was Jiang Wen. Jiang Wen would take over all the businesses and affairs of the Firewolves in Donghai City, continuing to think of ways to earn more money. Li Biaohan brought two friends with him today. One was Nia Deo from the Hidden House Shuang, and the other was Tiger, right from the Hidden House Yu. These two were people of high status, and Li Biaohan had them accompany him. It was enough to show how much importance he placed on Jiang Wen. Li Biaohan, on the other hand, had heard of Jiang Wen's exploits. It was said that Jiang Wen was someone who could think of ways to earn money, and was highly regarded by the leader of the Firewolves. If Li Biaohan could serve Jiang Wen well, then his position in the Firewolves would definitely skyrocket. "Welcome, Wen Bro." Li Biaohan quickly stood up and greeted Jiang Wen passionately. Niadeo and Tiger right beside him stood up as well. They knew how powerful the Firewolves were. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1996. They'd heard about Jiang Wen from Li Biaohan, the person in charge of the Firewolves in the province. The Firewolves valued him a lot, and they naturally wanted to be on good terms with him. Book Ocean Pavilion, net. Of course, they had heard that Jiang Wen used to be a member of House and one of the 5 small noble houses. However, House N's identity paled in comparison to House N's identity. It wasn't even worth mentioning. "You're Li Biaohan, right? Not bad. You do look tough." Jiang Wen looked at Li Biaohan, quite satisfied with his respect and friendliness. It seemed that this guy had a good eye for things and was worth his time to train. "Thanks for the compliment. Wen Bro." Li Biaohan pointed at the 2 beside him. "Let me introduce you. Wen Bro. This is the young master of House Shuang, Zhuang Niadeo, the future heir of House Shuang. This is the 2nd young master of House Yu, and he's well-versed in the art of pelletization. He'll definitely be one of the elders of House Yu in the future." Jiang Wen was a little taken aback after hearing their statuses. These 2 were from hidden houses. If it weren't for the fact that the Firewolves valued him so much that his status skyrocketed, he wouldn't have been able to interact with the young masters of the hidden houses with his status as one of the 5 small noble houses, even if he was just an external contact for the Firewolves. Book Ocean Pavilion, net. But now, Jiang Wen wasn't the same as before. He didn't feel flattered at all. "So it's Master Zhuang and Master Yu. It's an honor to meet you. This is my follower, Big Scorpion. We're family now. Let's get to know each other better. Who knows, I might need your help in the future." Sure. I heard that Wen Bro is good at making money. Master Yu and I were thinking that if Master Wen has any good ideas for making money, we'd be extremely grateful if you could bring us along." Zhuang Niadeo was the future heir of House Shuang, and his goal in coming to school was to learn how to manage a house. It'd be best if he could find some business for the house. As for Right Coiling Tiger, it was purely for fun. He knew alchemy. Although he could only refine some low-level pills, he could still sell them for a lot of money. He was never short of pocket money. "My business, is illegal. I wonder if the 2 of you are still interested?" Jiang Wen's mind spun. It wouldn't be a bad idea to rope in these 2 young masters of the hidden houses if he had some business dealings. Borrowing their power would make things much easier. We are all cultivators. What's there to be afraid of?" Zhuang Niadeo waved his hand and confidently said, "Don't worry, when Brother Wen has business, just help us." "If that's the case, sure." Jiang Wen nodded. Book C Pavilion, net. Li Biaohan said, "All right, let's sit down and talk. Brother Wen, please take a seat. You can take the seat of honor." Then I won't refuse." Jiang Wen laughed and sat on the seat of honor. After Jiang Wen sat down, the dishes were served like flowing water. They started chatting, but since Li Biaohan had Zhuang Niadeo and Right Coiling Tiger with him, Jiang Wen didn't talk too much about the Firewolves. After all, there were some things he couldn't let them know. After 3 rounds of drinking, Li Biaohan received a phone call. He looked at the caller ID and made an embarrassed gesture to Jiang Wen. "Our Firewolves." With that, he picked up the phone. "Hello, I'm Li Biaohan." "Biaohan bro, Lotzi and I were at the antique market yesterday, and we ran into 2 people that looked like Noble House disciples. They should be practitioners, but we don't know which house they're from. I've asked around with Lotzi, but we didn't get any information. That's why I'm calling you." It was one of Li Biaohan's lackeys, AOZ. He was one of the 2 gangsters that stopped Lin Yi and Lu Jinghan at the antique market. Oh, did you offend them? As soon as Li Biaohan heard this, he knew that AOZ and Lazi had offended the two cultivators who were suspected to be from aristocratic families. After their investigation was fruitless, they came to him for help. It's not really offended. It's like this. And so, AOZ explained the situation to Li Biaohan in detail. I see. If that's the case, send me the pictures of the two of them. But according to what you said, I don't think they'll bother you anymore. You don't have to be afraid. Li Biaohan comforted them. The antique market was under the protection of Li Biaohan's men, and it was also one of Li Biaohan's usual income, since it was the stall owner's request. AOZ and Lotzi couldn't say that they did anything wrong. It was just that they didn't find out where the two people came from, and they were afraid, so they called him for help. Okay, Biaohan bro, I'll send it to you now, AOZ said quickly. After hanging up, Li Biaohan explained to Jiang Wen, our Firewolf gang is protecting an antique market, and two of our lackeys offended two people who seem to be from noble houses. They should be practitioners. They didn't find out where they came from, and they're afraid that they'll take revenge, so they called me for help. With that, Li Biaohan told Jiang Wen about what happened. Your two lackeys are quite careful, but it's settled, and the stall owner even gave them 2 cauldrons. It should be fine now, Jiang Wen said. Cauldrons? You coiling tiger paused. There weren't many alchemists, and these 2 were practitioners. They went to buy cauldrons. Were they alchemists too? But which alchemist didn't have their own cauldrons? Why would they go to a stall to buy a fake one? Shaking his head, Yu Coiling Tiger said, it's probably 2 noble houses who want to study alchemy for fun. Even the lowest level alchemist wouldn't go to a place like that to buy a cauldron. Haha, yeah, I forgot that Lil Bro Yu is an expert in this field. Li Biaohan laughed and nodded. As he spoke, his phone rang twice. Evidently, he received a text message. Li Biaohan opened the message, and with one look, he knew who one of the people was. Damn. Isn't this Lin Yi? Li Biaohan pointed at the phone screen. Lin Yi. Zhang Niato didn't think much of it, but Yu Coiling Tiger heard this name and immediately went over. He looked at Li Biaohan's phone screen and immediately recognized the 2 people. These 2 are our classmates. One is Lin Yi and the other is Han Jingjing. They seem to be quite close. Target equals _blank that you're tuning into the Mystic Fist YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.